light. The LH-86 will end any fight. Quick to draw, easy to aim. Gemini's here to win the game. LH-86 R97 C-54. Gemini's weapons, we give you more. Precision, power, rapid fire. You get your Gemini and rise higher. When enemies swarm and you need to persist, the R97's fire turns them to red mist. Automatic blast, no one gets through. With Gemini's strength, the fight's on you. LH-86 R97 C-54. Gemini's weapons, we give you more. Precision, power, rapid fire. You get your Gemini and rise higher. And then fast fire in a tight squeeze. The C-54's got the speed to please. Spray and play, make your foes run. With Gemini, you've already won. From short to long, we'll take the lead. Gemini fire built for speed. Red mist in the air, foes didn't last. With Gemini power, victory's fast. Gemini weapons built to last. In every fight, enemies never get past.
Again?
So
All
it
right,
shouldn't
guys.
have been discontinued. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
You're not wrong.
So welcome, guys. We're another lovely Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Welcome to the Captain's Log, our lovely H.N.S Watch Tower, Drake Kraken patrolling the starways of Pyro. I got a couple crew with me today. We got, as usual, we've got frickin' can't even remember names all of a sudden. Stompy, our master fighter pilot.
Oh boy.
We got Trauma. His name is kind of misleading. Oh, well, actually, I guess it's not. He causes more trauma than he solves. And then we've got Omega Zero, who is a lower deckman that just came up from the bowels of moving cargo to, talk with us today.
Alright, so
So anyways, guys, we've got a few things we could talk about. Normally we start off with the topic, but I was lazy this week and I didn't really come up with a whole lot to talk about. But a lot of the things that have been crossing the feeds lately is a lot of people are really, really upset with the things that they're taking out of 4.0.
Ooh,
So-
yes. About that.
Let's touch on that and see where this goes. So who wants to start?
I'm gonna say my 50 cents on it. Is I understand that it's hard to promise and deliver on everything that you promised immediately. I believe that we're gonna get it all as a trickle feed. So I don't understand the entirety of they gutted it. We're never gonna see it, not till 1.0. I mean, if you look at all our other patches, we've had 3.17.1.2.3.A, B, C, D, E, F, G,
Sometimes why?
And so my thing is I believe that if they get it out first for 4.0 and 4.0 is just stable, I feel like that's the least we can ask for. I wouldn't be mind if 4.0 is stable and a couple months later I get a lot of the stuff that they promised. But I think that waiting for stability and making sure that the 4.0 code works on a large scale is a lot better than rushing it like we've been doing for the last couple of patches.
Yes, I completely agree. There shouldn't be so much drama and the oh my god effect. Like
Yeah,
Trauma
you're right.
said,
There
they're screwing us.
There
Like
shouldn't be so much trauma in this. You're right.
I was trying really hard not to lead off with that, but thank you. Yes, no, like people want a full-fledged game, and I get that. It's been out for God knows how fucking long now, but they have to understand if you've been a backer, and I've only for a hot minute, and I understand how like the process works of a developing game. I don't want everything self-gratified and instant, because you can't have God didn't build the world in a single day, or whoever built the fucking world in a single day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there we go.
Boom. So
hey, I mean, yeah.
and then I mean emphasis on whoever the fuck did it, they did it, but it didn't go boom. We're not fucking Thanos here. Like, guys, it's a game. It's a developing game. There has to be funds. There has to be resources. Like, it's gonna take time. It's gonna be fucking beautiful.
I thought Thanos destroyed things in a single day.
You're right. He snapped things out in a single day. You're right. In a single instant. You're very right. Yeah.
He could have done
Yeah,
the
but-
opposite and made things more in a single day. But you know, that's fine.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I always kind of viewed Thanos as more of a Ubisoft, so I mean, it makes sense.
All right, so let's see.
I'll play for.
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I don't mean to.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll be the devil's advocate here for the people who are complaining, and that is because of how long this has been. They don't, even though yes, we're getting gameplay little by little and everything like that, but everyone wants that juice. They've been waiting so long. They're not used, especially with how the industry is now. It's really hard for them to wait for something when they're used to getting it. Like if it said it's going to be by X amount of time, it's going to be there at that time. May not be perfect, but they can patch it in. Or if it's going to be certain things coming in at X patch, whatever, that it should be done and it should be done right. Like, you know, they should deliver on what they promise. I get that. Then, you know, it makes sense that they want that, especially with the money that this game has been getting every year, with ship sales, with the whole revenue that's going on, with all the stuff that they're giving. You would expect that the game would be at least mostly fleshed out by now. That's what everybody's thinking. That's why they're so frustrated about the fact that not everything that was promised is going to be delivered when they say we're going to be delivered.
Well,
I raised
to-
you Elite Dangerous in that argument. When Elite came out, it was pretty much, if you remember, it was the race between Star Citizen and Elite. They got kickstarted at the same time. Elite is out, and it's, quote, a full-fledged game. But if you've ever actually played it, it feels that, yeah, it has a lot of mechanics, but it feels very bare-boned. And I don't want Star to be that, you know? I'd rather wait and get a really good product 5-6 years down the road. I've been backing for like 7-8 years, and so I'm content on waiting. If I've waited this long, I could keep waiting, you know?
So
I just don't want to be an old man when that happens. That's, you know what I'm saying?
I think.
I mean, we're gonna be having kids by the time this thing is even fleshed out. We're getting close to that, like fully.
Our kids will be our age by the time this comes out.
I mean, hey man, I'm along for the ride. I've enjoyed this game more than I have Apex, more than I have Fortnite, more than I have any other game so far.
I
with
really
the mechanics and offer, that's like stuff they have to offer. So I mean, I'm testing it. We're all testers here.
I really think that that's kind of the mentality of most people is kind of what Omega literally just said. Everyone's just stuck on the phrase of, well, it'll be another 2 years, it'll be another 10 years, it'll be another whatever the increment is, or most people just be like, it's never going to come out. But here's the thing, and here's what I fear a lot of people are starting to believe again is CIG in the beginning, well, actually not in the beginning, guys, they kind of go through their waves, but they had this period of time where they were giving dates or they were giving deadlines for certain things to come out. And they missed them every single time, and not just missed them, but like really missed them, right?
Yeah.
And now they're starting to show a pattern of that again, right? So with the last patch, 3.22, everyone remembers 3.22, right? Well, the only reason why we have 3.23 is because there was one feature in particular that they couldn't get out in time to make it into the 3.22 update. And then it was supposed to be no, it wasn't that one. It was supposed to be a 322.x patch, and then they go, well, we feel that this content is actually significant enough to become its own patch, so we're going to make it 3.24. Or 20, sorry, 23, sorry. And that was the persistent hangers. Persistent hangers, right? And the main thing is that was a technology that, I call it technology, but it's not really technology at all. It's just a section of a module of their programming. And it was critical because it was literally the way that players interacted with their ships. And the game is about ships. Can you do FPS? Yes, but you can't leave a landing zone without a ship. If there were other ways to leave a landing zone, this wouldn't have been such an issue. But there's no other ways to leave a landing zone. You gotta have a ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're right. That's true.
Now this is where the issues start. Okay, this is where the issues start because this is where they're like, okay, we bit off more than we can chew. We had to push this back, and we are gonna focus on it for a whole nother patch cycle. 3 months is roughly what it took for them to bring this out, and then it dropped as 323. And then 324 comes out, and there were features of 324 that they dropped late as well, but fortunately it came in a 324.x patch. And there's still pieces of 324 that still haven't come out yet, that they promised when 324 was going to drop.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have 4.0 that they've been bragging about. Not only did they brag about it all last year at CitizenCon, and all through the year.
Saw it.
Then they brought it up again in this CitizenCon, but only briefly because they didn't want to touch on what's currently being released, right? They said that. They didn't want to touch on what's today's stuff. They want to talk to the future. And I can
Mhm.
respect that because they've already talked the hell out of 4.0. And now 4.0 is on the verge of releasing, and they go, "Oh, well, we're not going to put this in it." And actually, we're not going to put this in it either. And actually, we're not going to put this in it. You know what? We're just going to give you the framework. Which technically, we already have the framework. That was 3.24. 3.24 was such a big patch because it has the basic framework of 4.0 built in. That's why it was such a big patch for everyone. And people didn't
Mhm.
realize that until people, people from the Evocati and stuff like that started making posts on Spectrum and Reddit. And so we have the framework already. And so I don't know why they're holding all this stuff back. This is stuff that was supposed to be
Especially,
ready, stuff that's supposed to be tested, stuff that Evocati is supposed to have been going through, but instead they're trying to keep everything close to the chest. This is stuff that we have all funded, all of us, every one of us here, and everyone who's watching or going to be watching has put money towards to fund, to develop, and we are getting no access to this content to see where it's at.
Mhm.
And I
especially
don't
since, sorry, it's just especially since they said that Squadron 42, which was their main line, their main thing that they had like a lot of their teams at, was feature complete. So they're just polishing at this point for that game, for that part,
right.
which means they moved most of the team that was in there towards the PU. So they should have gotten more manpower to be able to get this all done a lot faster. So they should have been able to deliver on at least half of what they took away.
Now
Well,
let's not forget the 7-day work weeks that they were talking about too. I mean,
Exactly.
I figured you'd get more stuff done with that also.
Hmm.
actually, no, not really. So you have more quote unquote work time, but what you don't understand with
Productivity.
people
Fatigue.
who work 7 days a week, yeah, like he says, the productivity actually goes down.
Yep.
Um, it's
So I
not
wanna
good for game industries whenever they do crunch week.
Yeah. It's
No, it
so I
really.
went
mentally
ahead and sent you guys
horrible.
all a list of the content from 4.0 that I was able
Ooh,
to find.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ooh,
To
baby.
your guys' DMs.
I'm gonna rely on you guys to go through that because I can't pull the cameras down otherwise.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
the first thing that they talked about, and they really hammered this up at SitCon. Like I remember this being one of their
Actually,
major talking points.
Trauma,
And
hold
then they
on. Just before
removed
you get into
their.
that first one, let me just quickly finish my rant, which was talking
I
about
got you done.
how CIG is starting to show a pattern again of not delivering what they talk about. They
Hmm.
go and say that 4.0 is coming, and they say X, Y, and Z are going to be in 4.0, and now it's just half of X, and not Y or Z either. So it's really just showing a pattern of them not being able to deliver what they talk about. And I mean, just like Jared said, right? Jared goes, "We don't talk about what isn't in active development. well, all of this has been in active development for a whole year, if not longer, with like what Omega said, uh, extra manpower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they advertise this timeline for 4.0 that they want to get 4.0 out, and over half the features of 4.0 are not going to be in 4.0. So what actually is 4.0?
What if
Is
they've
it
really been working on?
is 4.0 just the solar system? Is 4.0 the wormhole? Is 4.0 the wormhole and the solar system? Is 4.0 server meshing? Like, I mean, those are really the only three things that are left, right? Out of all the content
Supposedly.
dropping in 4.0, it's just those three things. And don't get me wrong, a whole new solar system to explore, right? Let's look on the bright side. That's 6 new planets. One of them has 5 moons and a whole lot more points of interest on every location.
Yep.
So I don't know if the mission system is going to be working or not. I don't know if that's on Trauma's list that he found or what, but I mean, we'll let him
I
go into that.
do
So go
not.
ahead.
So the one of the things that I was looking forward to a lot, and you were there when I was watching sitcom with you guys, and I was very excited for this, was specialized armor. It was something I'd been asking for like the longest time. The ability to log into the game and pick like a heavy role, a tracker role, like a pilot role. I thought that'd be
Ooh.
really cool.
I didn't
That's
think that
been
was coming in
removed.
4.0, to be honest.
It was listed in the 4.0, the features. It's cut till later now.
I can accept
But
that
Oof.
one
they
though.
removed engine. Yeah, I can go with that because they promised me that 3 years ago and I still don't have it, so I'm okay. But the one that everybody's really irritated about, but also kind of celebrating that it's not coming, it depends on who you are and what ship you wanted to fly, is engineering. They got rid of that. So there's going to be no life support. There's going to be no fires. There's going to be no damage to your components. Are still going to be a thing, but like you can't fix them.
I mean, I'm not gonna
And
lie,
that's
I'm okay with that too. So far we're 0 and 2 for things I care
Yeah.
about.
well,
I'm
I
yeah.
think it gives people a reason to try bigger ships without the
Oh,
fear of not being able to use it. Um,
don't get me wrong,
I mean, that was a lot of people's fear with like
oh,
a
the
lot of people's
engineering is
fear
good.
with the Polaris was
I think we got a bit of a delay. Alaska's a bit far away from me. Um, so engineering. Sorry, let me settle on this topic for just a second. Um, engineering is gonna add more depth to multiplayer ships, and that's a cool factor. But it's also gonna require more people aboard a ship that wasn't meant to have that many people. If you look at the number of beds on a ship, you have to figure out whether you want gunners or engineers.
Well, you also have to consider if they're using bigger ships and these, even with the small spaces, there is something as hot racking where essentially two people are sharing the same bed, just taking shifts or different things like that. So even with the amount of beds that there are in the ship itself, it might need that many more or more than the standard what's in the bed for
Oh man,
the engineering aspect of it.
you just double up on a bunk and cuddle up real close.
Yeah, bro.
Exactly. Bro,
all that. I
bros
mean,
before
what?
hoes, right?
I don't know. So
No.
it's 2024. That term kind of scares me now.
Another thing that they discussed back in 2023, they discussed hygiene affecting how NPCs interacted with you with the reputation system. I'm going to tie that into the
I
reputation system being removed because I think those both fall into the same category. They're both out of 4.0 now. There's no longer hygiene and there's no longer reputation. Now I care about reputation more than I care about hygiene. I don't
Why
want
would
to
they get rid of
shower
reputation when
in
there's
real
still
life and in the game.
Okay, so let me just
I
touch on
mean,
this. I want a space sim game,
reputation,
not
yeah,
a
dude.
real life imitation game. I don't want to take fucking showers. I don't
Exactly.
want to have to piss and shit.
Dude, if I
And-
shit my pants, I should not be not let through fucking Seraphim. Just saying.
I mean, I play a game called Scum, and in that game you shit and
Yep,
piss.
yeah.
But here's the thing: if you shit yourself or
Yeah.
you piss yourself, guess what happens? Nothing. Just
Yeah.
the embarrassment of having shat yourself or pissed in your pants. There's no repercussions for it whatsoever. So I don't know. I don't think a hygiene system in a space game is absolutely necessary. I'm 100% okay with that not ever being a thing.
I'm agreeing with that.
I am too.
Hygiene,
I'm
meh.
glad that they rolled back the pooping thing they were talking about like 4 years ago. Because I was really not ready for that. I didn't want to have to be in a dogfight. My character's like, oh, we gotta go, like, you know, like, or I lose a dogfight because I'm too focused, like, duking my pants, you know. Like,
My character's
Oh.
scared
Take-
shitless, literally.
Take too many G's
So
and
I
just forces
literally,
out
yeah.
all over your shorts.
exactly. They also are removing ray tracing.
Wait, what?
But yeah, that's not gonna be a thing.
What-
It's not gonna be
they're-
fully.
They're removing ray tracing for that system or both?
So
we already have it.
So the global illumination thing where they said everything's going to look nicer if you have your ray tracing on and stuff like that. I don't remember the full. I didn't really research that too much because I thought we already had it.
Yeah, I thought we did too.
But they're removing RTGI, which is their ray tracing global illumination, and I don't really fully know what that is, but that
Wait,
was
hold
a
on.
talking point someone brought up
I think-
on Spectrum.
Wasn't
I
that
think
wasn't that
that's,
a ray tracing for
to make it
AMD
easier for your
GPUs?
face. I think so.
I believe that's what it was. Yes.
I thought
Okay, well-
I thought that was related to making it easier for your face to be seen by the ray
No,
tracing system.
That was a different technology.
Ah.
For and that one I don't think is coming
I'm
anytime soon
pulling
either.
it up.
FPS scanning.
But no, if it's the one that I'm thinking of, if it's the ray tracing for AMD cards, then I'm okay with that because I don't have AMD, and I know there's AMD users out there for their graphics cards, but I think majority of people
So
have NVIDIA cards.
they're saying that it was supposed to support better frames. That was their argument. Was it's an update to the current ray tracing to support better frame rates.
Okay, well, I mean,
Um,
I'm not too terribly concerned about that either. Frames are currently okay
I don't
with my
know.
system.
I still push at, like, even when I play on my laptop, I still push 43 frames in high intensity situations. So I don't really know the complaint.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's more for low end graphics cards, so
like I said,
At least
I played on the laptop for the longest time.
Is this hinting
I
at the
still push
majority of
43.
people mentioning that they need better frames, that they cannot, afford better hardware? Is that the intent with this?
Okay, so I'm gonna break away for a second.
The goal of all
I work
developers is to make a
I work
game that
at
is
Best
as
Buy.
accessible to everyone as it can possibly be. So they're gonna try and get it to work on as many systems as possible, including the lower end systems if they can.
My breakaway for that is I currently work at Best Buy as their computer salesman, TV salesman, and phone salesman. And computers are like that can run Star Citizen that we sell only cost $1,100.
Way to self-advertise, man.
And so, hey. But all I'm saying, I'm trying to point that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to that not being able to. If you can afford a Kraken, maybe you should have bought a better PC.
There we go. Yes,
Dude, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
That is
Use your
legit.
money wiser, people.
Here's
Get a
the
fucking
thing.
brain cell, grow a fucking brain,
There
grow
are
some fucking
people
testicles,
with
and just compare
jobs
each
that are
other.
running
Well,
2080.
Trauma, or not
What?
trauma. Sorry, Stompy. That's assuming people are actually smart. Come on.
You're right. Common sense is a fucking superpower nowadays. My bad. You're right. You're fucking right.
Common sense is a superpower. That is not even a debate. Hands down, totally the truth.
I just want to say that I had a conversation with someone in the LFG that was complaining about frame rates. I saw their hangar because they were showing us something. They had a Javelin LTI in there, and they were on a 2080. All I'm gonna say is you could have upgraded like crazy if you hadn't bought the Javelin and you bought a better PC and bought the
But
Javelin
those
later.
pixels, Trauma, those pixels are important.
Oh, I love going to bed cradling my phone while I look at my JPEG of my Javelin. It really brings me joy. But
Are you saying my 3060 Ti overclock outperforms a 2080?
I mean, I was running a 2080.
I don't know
until, like,
about a
couple months ago.
3060,
I mean,
but
I
maybe
love
a
my 2080.
3070 Ti.
My 36, real quick, and this is just shitting on the 2080. Yeah, I'm sorry. I run a 3060 Ti, right?
Shit on
I
my
stream
2080.
1080p. I stream on Twitch at 1080p. I stream on Discord at 720p, 30 FPS at the same fucking time, and I'm getting more frames than this guy could fucking afford on his Javelin. You're telling me that he doesn't know how to optimize his fucking shit to use his fucking brain cell, his single brain cell, because he spent all of his other brain cells on a fucking Javelin. You serious right now?
No, remember, they don't even have that.
That's the talking point. Is a lot of people complain about performance issues in Star Citizen, and
it's a backwards optimized game.
I don't face a lot of performance issues on my build. When I first met you guys, I was up in a national park with crappy Wi-Fi on a laptop, keeping up with you guys.
Yep.
Like there's not an argument for not being able to play the game, in my opinion. All you need is 16 gigabytes of RAM minimum, with at least a graphics card with 8 great gigabytes of GPU. Like that's it. That's all you need.
And a brain.
VRAM.
Don't forget.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you had the wrong terminology for just a second there, so you fix yourself.
Yeah. So when I upgraded, when I got back to my desktop, I got on 64. I have 24 gigs of RAM with my 4090. Like it's fine, there's no problems going on with that. But people still complain, but you're running a 1060 and you think the game's gonna work for you. You're running 8 gigabytes of RAM and you're like, oh, why doesn't my game work? I've talked to people who come into the game and they're like, oh, this game is terrible, this game is buggy. And the first thing I ask them, well, what are your specs? Oh, I have 8 gigabytes of RAM. I'm shocked the game even booted for you.
Yeah, me too. I've got 64 gigs in my system, and people go, why do you even need that much? I go, well, I do
why not
photo editing, I do video editing, I do animated renders, I do Star Citizen, I do streaming. Fuck, what else?
Can we title the name of the stream? It's not the game, you're just broke.
Look, the correct answer to that question of why do you need that many gigabytes is why don't I need that many gigabytes?
Yeah. Actually,
why don't you have that many gigabytes?
Here's my reason. I have 64 gigs of RAM because I have 6 different Chrome pages open with about 15 to 20 different tabs per page. That's what my RAM's filled up with.
I just have a lot of processes going on at the same time that require that much RAM, supposedly.
Yep, same. Yep, that's exactly what happens. I mean, when you have enough RAM to give it to Star Citizen, it will take 20 gigs of RAM if it has it available to take.
So when I run my game, I prioritize Star Citizen. It's listed as a priority on my rig. It takes 25 to 30 gigs of RAM. And I don't even think it's using 90% of that. I think just what it does, it just reserves it just in case I get into a high intensity thing where it needs to start optimizing more. It's the same thing with my graphics card. My graphics card has 24 gigs of RAM. 24 VRAM. Sorry. Anyways, my thing for it is it uses, if I prioritize it, it uses 50% of my VRAM. It doesn't even need that. But my game runs smoothly. I hit 60 frames pretty much everywhere except for when I touch Orison and I suddenly get 5. But that's
until you go through the portal and you end up in Pyro, and Pyro just blasts your face off and your frames go to like nothing.
Oh, don't get me freaking mentally prepared for that. I'm gonna get scarred, man.
So here's let's get back on track. Let's talk about 4.0, right? So we're talking about system specs, and we jump into Pyro. Okay, well, they're also bringing in server meshing, right? Server meshing is supposed to be one of the key technologies of this patch of 4.0. And server meshing, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to take a section of the map and it's supposed to give that to a server by itself, right? But
Like
that
chunking?
server, kind of, but
Okay.
slightly different. For instance, let's say to start with low population, let's say all of ArcCorp is on one server, right? The entire planet is dedicated to one server. But these servers are kind of linked together in like a Kubernetes or other configuration. I'm not entirely sure what their configuration is, but basically they're all talking to one another. So for every section of the map that you have on servers, they're all talking to one another. So when stuff gets transferred from one server to the other server, it's a seamless transition for you, right? As you being the person transferring from one area to the next area, it's a seamless transition. But because it's not handling the whole map like the servers are now, we have 100 people on the entire server, and it's one server controlling all of Stanton. So when they take Stanton and they chop it up, now you can have 100 people per server per section of the map, which means we can have
That's always
higher
nice.
player rates, right? So now we can go
Mhm.
between 500 to 1,000 player cap, which is what they've been testing, and should still maintain that stability. In fact, it should introduce higher frame rates because not every server is having to push that much information, depending on what's
Now,
like it.
happening.
I'm not mistaken. When they were doing the testing, they were doing the testing on one server, so they weren't breaking it up. They were seeing how many one server can hold, streaming literally everything in the system, and they were hitting 2,000 before it finally broke down and killed itself.
So
Like,
they were doing server meshing, but it was all single shard server meshing. Single shard meaning you have all these servers talking together in a shard. So you have let's say 10 servers, right? Let's say it's 10 servers in one shard. So they take the solar system of Stanton, they chop it up into 10 sections, and they give each section to a server within the same shard. And then they increase the server cap of players, and yeah, so the players distribute themselves throughout the system. But here's the thing: during server meshing, they weren't trying to distribute themselves across the system. They were all trying to gather in one spot, and they wondered why the server was fucking up. But
You
here's
well,
what's
can't, so you're telling me
everybody
we
was
can't
starting
have.
in the same locations.
Oh,
well, not just that, but like they were trying to see how many people they could get aboard one ship.
Which
That
is
was
a viable way to test how many people you can have per server.
yeah. So
yeah.
anyways,
That's why they picked
so
those
here's
Evo people.
here, well, one
It
of
just
them
so happens that it
happens.
fucks up everybody. Whenever you fuck up one server, it just
You
cascades
don't
to everything
say.
else.
Really?
So
It's not
anyways,
supposed to happen though.
getting back to the explanation what server meshing is one of the things that they have in their server meshing is as more things start to happen in an area, it will spin up a new server, it'll chop that one in half and give half of it to the new server, so that way the loads is still balanced, right? It has a self-balancing protocol or whatever they've got in their system to identify when a server load gets too high, it spins up a new server, takes a section of that, and it gives it off to the new server. And it'll keep
Well,
doing that until it gets to a more stable condition.
or
That's how it's
breaks.
supposed to work. Supposed to, okay. And that'll include both systems, both Stanton and Pyro, as well as the transition between the two planets, or the planets, wow, to the two solar systems. So that's my understanding of all the
We're not
research I've
used to going
done
to
on this
systems.
technology, and so far it's looking promising, but man, I don't know.
Does it count just the player base for
No,
the server count, or is it also movable objects and stuff like that?
no, it tracks everything. So when the
Ooh.
server load, so like if you look at a server's just a computer, right? So if you look at your computer, whenever you load different softwares and stuff like that on your computer, you can see your resources being used. So you see your RAM
Mhm.
utilization, you see your CPU utilization, you see what its clock rate is at, you see how many cores it's using, what voltage is on each core, stuff like that. So as you're looking at the metrics of each server, once the load gets to a certain point, that's when it will spin up a new server and give part of it away to the new server.
I was literally about to ask that question. Okay. when there's a certain amount of entities or artifacts involved, then it'll start to be like, hey, heads up, this is about to get shitty. Like, time to boot a new one, basically, right?
Well, it's not even about that. So, all right, let's use something practical. So let's say you're in a cargo ship, and the cargo ship is a hull.
E.
I don't. Let's say a hull C because that's the biggest thing we got. Okay, so you've got a hull C and it's full of cargo. And while it's all stacked on the ship, it is all separate entities, but it's all entities in one area, and it's not blown apart yet. Because
Yet.
when it's on the grid, it no longer has its physics applied. When you pull it off the grid, it reapplies the physics. So when you blow up the ship and the grids get destroyed, all the physics gets reintroduced to all of those boxes. So you've got a hull C full of cargo, and it gets attacked by pirates. And let's say it's 5 pirates attacking this hull C, and they attack the hull C and they blow it up, and the cargo goes everywhere. Well, now you've got all the pieces of the ship blown up. You got all the cargo boxes. You got all the pirates' ships as well as all the items on their ships. You've got the cargo ships coming to clean up the mess before the actual owners get back to try and reclaim their stuff or call in friends. And let's say it did have an escort, so the escorts are still fighting the other fighters while all of this is going on down below. And you're looking at the server resources, and the server resources are starting to get consumed because there's more and more going on this particular part of the server. So the RAM starts to get utilized. In fact, you're going to see the RAM shoot up whenever all of those entities get their physics back, right? Because it has to process all that information, and the CPU of the server, because every server still has a brain, it still has a CPU. So the CPU will process all the information and then realize that it needs to process the next batch of information. So it's going to store all of that in RAM, because RAM is random access memory, which means it's a short-term storage. It's the shortest range between communicating with stored data. So it's going to process information, store it, process the next batch of information, store it, and it just does this back and forth with RAM and the CPU. And it doesn't commit it to a hard drive until later. If ever, for these kinds of servers. I don't think they even run hard drives in these kinds of servers. They have other servers.
Right, they got Raspberry Pis and fucking hamsters.
I mean, that's what you might think if you try to play it today. But so that's a whole lot going on. And these servers have just a massive load all the time whenever shit like that happens. And then you have little shitters like us who like to go and see how far we can break the server and just spawn in as many things as we can. And we're not the only ones. There are many people like us. And all of you know who you are. Anyways, and that fucks up the server. And then all of these people who find exploits, and the exploits generate more and more entities, or even the people who like to who duplicate, right? Duplicate requires something to be destroyed for, something to come out of that to then be. Anyways, long story short, more entities. More and more stuff is being generated on the server, more and more load on the RAM and the CPU on the server load, and it's causing servers to get gunked up, or it could even be a malfunctioning mission, like whenever the cargo missions, right? The cargo missions in the beginning were broken because they had this buffer of memory that was allocated for the missions, and as a mission would fail, it wouldn't clear the buffer. And so you just had the entire buffer completely full and backed up on top of it, of all of these failed missions, and no one could do a mission after that. But they fixed that problem. I can't remember exactly what they said to fix that problem, but they did. And so the missions work now. But the point is, the more things you do, whether intentional or unintentional, or intentionally douchebag or baggish, yeah. It will all contribute to the server load. But with server meshing, it should help alleviate that and help give us better frames, because it'll just spin up a new server, and then we can get the higher server frame rates because it's not having to deal with all of that load. Because as it gets to a threshold, it will spin up a new server, and then anything over what that threshold is gets pushed off, or it starts breaking up that So here's the chunk of information on the map that it's processing. So if this chunk starts to overload the server, it separates off and then separates off and then separates off until eventually all server load is balanced. That's a very long, complicated, and simple explanation of how server meshing works.
So what's up with this that I see on the list? Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, well, just continue. I was just gonna go next down the line to Maelstrom that we were promised in 2023.
And there we go, right back to that server load.
Yes,
no, I'm honestly excited for Maelstrom, so I'm actually really upset that it's not coming.
Too. So I wanted to shoot off Connie engines really, really badly. I wanted to shoot off Connie. Okay, here's why I wanted Maelstrom, and this is very, very surface level. So something that I used to do with somebody named Mr. Baxter. I'm trying to get him into our group and all that. Something I used to do with this guy was we would get into razors and we would just torment constellations, exclusively constellations. Everything else could come in and out, no torment. But constellations, we fly up behind, get really close with the little shotguns, and we start blasting their bottom engines so they hurtle out of the sky. Here's the problem. Even without your bottom engines, you're still allowed to land. With Maelstrom, there goes your landing gear. And that is what we thought would be funny. So imagine you get your landing gear blown off on your Connie, your bottom engine. That's your landing gear. It's gone. You're going to have to belly flop that shit every time you want to land it.
Not gonna
that's a lot. That's a lot of the ships in Star Citizen.
I mean,
Gladiator has its landing gear in its wings. The F8C has very breakable landing gear. A lot of landing gears in the wings are parts that can be blown off, and they just sit there and they pop back out of nowhere. I thought it'd be funny if you could blow them off and have people belly flop, because now not only you have to get back. And that's another one. Yeah,
the Eclipse has to land on the belly if it loses its wings.
So now imagine you also have your torpedo bay damaged, and you have a torpedo out, and you land and you pop that thing. You're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you might as well just eject at that point.
Well, I wouldn't say that happens. So typically warheads aren't armed until just before it releases off the pylons.
But imagine though.
Oh, I know.
No, I mean, the only way that would work is if they were trying to shoot it and the launch got damaged to the point that it's armed, but it would not leave the arm, so they would stay there. That would happen
with that happens with the Harbinger sometimes. The Harbinger gets if you've ever flown a Harbinger before and you get strafed on the bottom of your ship, now your torpedo bay is damaged. I have had times where I'm about to launch my torpedo and an arrow comes up and strafes me. Now my torpedo bay is damaged. It doesn't launch the torpedo and I can't put it back in there. So I immediately just dip out of combat. I go back, I try to land, and I pray to God that thing just doesn't detonate underneath me. And I think that is something I'm looking forward to. I think that's an amazing espionage tactic, by the way. Arm somebody's missile without them knowing.
May I join in this Connie espionage tactic too, please?
Yeah, so it's very, very funny. Like it's Maelstrom. Something I used to do to screw with more Connies is if I was in a Connie crew and my whole goal was to screw them over, is I would go back to the Merlin and I would self-destruct it. I would start the Merlin self-destruct, and then I would jump out of the ship. Yeah, I might still die, but that was back when you could med pin before you hit the ground. And then I would watch as they fly away, and all their engines just get blown off by the Merlin explosion. And you just see the Connie cradle towards the ground, and now you can go pick up their loot. You don't get charged for it because it was their Merlin. And that was something I used to teach people. I'm like, you want to take out a Connie? Detonate the Merlin.
Fucking
so
shit.
I'm excited. I'm excited for the Maelstrom system because now we finally have a way that we can process the larger ships that happen to make it to our salvage yards. Yeah.
Yep.
So
it'd be more realistic in that sense.
we can have a ship show up. And here's the irony. Is it irony? Anyways, our salvage
Same
yard
shit.
is our salvage yard is anywhere in the verse. Anywhere where our fleets are and our salvager is, that's our salvage yard.
Mhm.
Albert, can you make me a promise? In the future, if we're able to slap parts from other ships onto ships to on the ships that are broken to repair them to replace parts, can we please, for the love of God, make a Bengal carrier called the Frankenstein that's literally just built with other Bengal carrier parts?
Yo,
You know, sure, why
the
not?
Frankel carrier.
We
The
can have the
Frankel
H.N.S
carrier.
What a-
Frankenstein.
What a flex, bro! What a flex! You
Honestly,
show up to
though,
combat
I
in
think
a
the
mismatched,
Frankenstein-
I love that
miscolored
shit.
Bengal.
I think the Frankenstein is more appropriate for a Drake ship, though. So maybe another Kraken.
I'll join you in that. For all
Oh,
the
that'd
above.
be so funny. And we gotta make it
bro.
where they put the org emblems, so it's just covered in org emblems as it shows up to
For
combat.
every
Fucking
org we've
trophy
destroyed.
patches. Yes.
We gotta take trophies, man.
That's the way to do it.
Weld
I'm
on
in.
weld on plates from other orgs where their logo was ripped off.
Yo, do I see here in the
I
list
don't
real
want to.
quick?
I don't
just
want to
have-
bring Transformers in this, but I want to do what Scourge does, where he like takes
Yes.
the emblem and he like welds it onto himself. I want to do that with logos. If that's a thing in the future, I want to
Do I
weld that
see-
onto the side of my ship. So when someone
Like-
sees my Perseus pulling up, it's just covered in org emblems.
For every ship we destroy, we find it perfectly used, laser the hull out of it, pull it out, and then weld it onto your ship.
Hey man, that's armor. That's free armor too, depending on
That's
the
free
ship.
armor.
Yeah. I mean, extra defense, man. Extra defense. I'm onto something here. I know it.
I love it. Yo, what
Next
is
thing-
this with EVA push pull grappling? When is grappling?
Okay.
That was
ever,
the,
like
last year at the 2 years ago at SitCon, but 2023, they talked about. I didn't know that. I went to SitCon live. I just want to flex that again, guys.
ooh, nice.
And so one of the things that they talked about in one of the panels is that the EVA system that we introduced, which they did deliver on that promise this year for better EVA, was the EVA was supposed to be where we were supposed to be able to grab onto ships and pull ourselves along them
Yeah.
to move faster without having to use
Oh.
the air system. Because
Okay.
eventually they said that we're gonna run out of air. So right now we have like unlimited air. In the future, that's not the
Yeah.
case. And so to
Okay.
be able to grab onto parts of the ship and move yourself forward, that was the grappling EVA system.
Here's the funny thing
and the
about
grapple
that.
was also using the instead
Man.
of having the grappling or not the tractor beam to carry things, but you can use the tractor beam to put yourself pull yourself towards whatever you grapple.
Dude, I've been
That works now.
Spider-Man tractor beaming since like 318, dude. Like,
Yeah, it still
Well,
works now.
here's the funny thing with that whole push pull situation. That was literally demonstrated in the demo of Squadron 42, right? And not only was it demonstrated in the demo of Squadron 42, but it was demonstrated the year prior during 2 years prior whenever they talked about it. They talked about it 2 years
SitCon.
ago. Yeah, it was at SitCon almost each time. But they talked about it 2 years ago, and it's 2 years later. They literally just did a demo of Squadron 42 with it working flawlessly, and they can't implement that for some reason into the game when they should have done it a year ago.
Can I drop my quick
Interesting.
conspiracy theory? I have
it.
this theory that when Squadron 42 gets released, all the features that we have been bitching and moaning about not having are going to come literally the next fucking day.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because they got to
Um,
perfect it for Squadron 42, because that's their flagship. They're like, hey, come to this game. We have the PU as well. And then they wouldn't keep everything all fucky
Well,
and screwy. Yeah, 100%.
I have a problem with
Well-
what they're doing also. So they talked about how they made all these systems for Squadron 42, and they were going to take all the new systems that they wanted for the PU and put them into Squadron 42, so that way they could test them and mold them and make sure that they got the best polish that they possibly could, and then they're going to take those and translate them over to the PU. But here's the problem with that thought process: Squadron 42 is a single-player game. A single-player game. And they're going to take these systems that they built in a single-player game, designed for a single player game and bring them over to a multiplayer MMO style sandbox game and
Yeah.
still expect them to work as intended. Now the features,
I don't-
some of
Okay, so
them
the f-
don't matter. They, like the whole EVA and the push pull, that doesn't matter. Here's another thing they promised. They promised a better mantling system. What do we have? A shit mantling system.
Mhm.
They said that we'd be
even
able to catch
GTA
things.
5 has a better mantling system.
Yeah, and that's how many years old
Yeah.
by now? Anyways, so here's the funny thing.
13, some shit like that.
We are supposed to be able to catch ledges in flight and be able to catch them and pull ourselves up. We still don't have that. And yet again, they
Mhm.
advertised that 2 years ago.
But they didn't advertise it this time.
I still have to make
No,
my
they-
own
they
trails
immediately
and
forgot
fucking
about that
Crusher.
one.
Hmm.
And see, that's where I bring in the Squadron 42 thing. Is I came in originally as a backer for Squadron 42. I'm honest about that.
Hmm.
Eventually,
Nice.
I lost interest in it because it just hasn't been coming out. It's like how I lost interest in getting another Splinter Cell. It's just not happening.
Sure.
And my thing with Squadron 42 is I believe that, and this can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I
You're
think
wrong.
that a lot of the systems that they're putting in, okay, I think that a lot of the systems that they're putting into Squadron 42, I think the reason they're not giving us them in the PU is so that when they drop Squadron 42, it's going to be a breath of fresh air. Let's be real. It probably is. It's either going to be really
Yeah.
bad or really good. And I think it's going to be really good, just my opinion. And I
It'll
think
make
that
up for all the
things we've ever
318s
wanted,
and 323s.
yeah.
Continue, sorry.
We're going to look at it and it's going to be all the things we ever wanted. So we're going to play the shit out of
I
Squadron
mean, I'm gonna
42.
play shit out of it anyways.
That's the problem. Yeah, we're not gonna play. No,
But-
anybody can play the shit out of that. Come on.
I'm not
Like,
playing it for
yeah,
the
yeah,
mechanics.
but-
I'm playing it
Sorry,
for
continue,
the
continue. Sorry,
freaking
Donald.
story.
But I think that's what they're thinking. I think they're holding on to the mechanics because if they think if we get everything that we want, we can just recreate Squadron 42 in the PU. We don't
I
need
mean,
Squadron 42
That's
anymore.
the point of us,
Yeah.
is to do that, to be able to do something like that. But besides the point, it's kind of dumb to hold back on these features for a single player game so that you can implement it in a multiplayer game when you can implement it in a multiplayer game so that is already like a test bed for them, so they can test everything, make sure everything works as intended. So when they can move it from a multiplayer game that needs a lot of things to a single player game that doesn't need as many resources or things that the PU does, and therefore the system will work a lot better because it's
Wanna-
already been rigorously tested in
You
a
want to know the
multiplayer
actual?
system.
Want to know the actual reason why they put it in Squadron 42 as opposed to putting it in the PU and going to this? You want to know the whole reason why they didn't do what you suggested and just flip it
Because
180?
it's easier.
No, they had more people over there.
Of
Well,
course.
that too. But they were supposed to move for those people from once they feature finished.
Right.
They were supposed to move those people to the PU.
But the whole argument about like before they were feature complete, the reason why they're putting all this stuff into the game, their explanation was we're putting it there so we can have it all in one area and we can test it all and make sure it's nice and flushed out for you so when we bring it over it's going to work. Right? That was their explanation. That the real explanation is
shitty
they literally
explanation.
just had more people on that project than they do on the PU. And then when it was feature complete, they moved some teams over. And I have a feeling that they had to bring some of those teams back over to the Squadron 42 because the polishing was being a little bit more tedious than the teams could handle. So that's why we are probably getting this issue of promised things that just aren't coming out on time. That's just my
Can I be
speculation.
completely real? Can I
Consider
be
that
real with
a
you
game
guys for a
theory.
minute?
Sure.
And don't tell anybody else this.
on a
everybody
live
now.
on a live
I was-
stream.
on a live stream podcast, yeah. My problem is I haven't even seen the Squadron 42 demo.
What?
I refuse to watch it, and my
It's gonna
reasoning
make you
for
regret
that
all this shit that Star Citizen hasn't done. Sorry.
exactly, and that's why I haven't watched it. Is I knew that if I watched it, I'd grow really malcontent with what I have right now.
Honestly,
is
you should.
yesterday I
didn't
was in a
miss
dispo
much.
center.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday I was in a dispo center and I was trying to mantle over a railing. I had like
I hate that
12 guards
shit.
behind me. They were running me down. I was in heavy armor, the pay to win armor that you take barely any damage in. I don't know why it does it, but it does. The Overlord set, in case you're wondering what it is. I was taking hits. One guy was screaming about how he doesn't believe I'm not dead yet, but I'm literally med pitting the shit out of myself. And I'm trying to mantle over the railing because I'll be safe if I mantle. And it took me 20 seconds being next to a railing for it to register my mantle, and it didn't even mantle me all the way over. So I stood on the railing and I had to jump the last 5 feet because it didn't mantle properly. So it mantled
God.
like I was standing up on a goddamn box. I said, "What is this? Why am I standing on a 2-inch thick rail? This is dumb." And so I jumped over. And my thing is, I've been playing Call of Duty for the last couple games, so I've been able to mantle like crazy. And so I was applying that kind of logic to Star Citizen, and it just does not translate.
Ooh, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
That's
never,
mandatory.
And
never.
Like I said,
never
we have a
put Call
mantle
of Duty into
system,
this.
and it kind of works, but it's not what they promised when they advertised the better, more up-to-date mantle
You
system.
mean it mantles in the
If I am
areas you're
running a
supposed to be able to
pistol-
mantle on, right?
if I am
Right.
running a pistol, there should be no reason for and I say this to my heart, to my Lord and Savior, Chris Roberts Christ. Like, there should be
Jesus.
no reason that I have to
Yes.
put my fucking pistol away. My pistol that's not even the size of a deagle. It's more like a little tiny Smith & Wesson, tiny little itty bitty guy.
Yes,
Like,
praise be to
I
Christ
have
Roberts.
to hop over. I have to put my gun away, my pistol, away to mantle over wall. I am 300 pounds in real life. I believe that if I went and got my pistol right now, which I will not do due to Twitch regulations, I believe that I
YouTube.
could mantle over. Or on
Same
YouTube.
thing.
Oh shit! Then I can do what I want. Then I can. Then I could mantle. I believe that I
Wow.
can mantle my 300-pound ass over a railing with a gun in my hand and not die like I did during that
Thomas.
dispo center.
Do you want to know why you weren't able to do it? Because you weren't using a controller
Why?
like Chris Roberts intended for it.
Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you. Let's try it. Then are we controller supported in
Stay
Star?
lit, spit.
All right,
Do we have
everyone get your controllers out.
I will boot
Let's
this
go.
up right now. I will boot this up right now.
We got
Like,
2
you are
controllers.
touching a
Who's
touchy
next?
topic.
I got mine, but you can't see it.
Yeah, lower deckmen. They're not allowed to be on camera.
That's
Yeah.
I got
criminal
mine.
stomping.
Okay, all right.
Well, they're
all
not.
right,
They're not.
perfect.
They're not issue standard controllers.
No,
PlayStation.
I had to buy this out of my own pockets.
Sony issued. Best Buy, actually. Shout out.
Oh, Best Buy. Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So we've got. I don't know how many
Sponsor, Best
topics
Buy
we've
sponsor
touched
us.
on yet, but what's next?
FPS scanning,
I have
the feature
FP
that would
I have-
allow
Dude,
players to
oh,
scan
yeah, he's
their
got
surroundings for collabs,
The amount of time I've
collectibles, and
fat-fingered
other
this
players.
shit.
Hold
Yep.
on.
Sorry.
What was that, Stompy?
Sorry. So read through that again, Omega. My bad. But the amount of times I've fat fingered through just automatically scanning while in FPS, dumbest shit I've ever done. But I cannot wait for this. Just saying.
The next subject is FPS scanning, which is a feature that would allow players to scan their surroundings for collectibles or other players. And
Okay.
Please.
So I'm gonna start this off by saying that is a system I was looking forward to, primarily
Mhm.
because you have it for ships. Why
Okay.
can't I do it with a suit?
Like the radar ping scanning, right? Not the scanning mode shit.
no, yeah,
Yeah, no,
it's supposed to be
the
like a
ping
ping
system.
system.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Awesome.
They
So-
featured it, I think, last year
Yep,
for to
Yeah.
share and how you could be like interacting and going through. This is before they started doing the whole specializations.
While knee sliding, by the way. While knee
While knee
sliding.
sliding, yeah, ping while knee
Where's that?
sliding and be able to do all that.
that.
And like they announced it for last year. They made a big deal for it. Hasn't come out since.
Yep, I'm on
Somebody
100% on board for this thing to come out, and I'm actually kind of sad that this is one of the things being held back. So far, I think we're at 3 systems I don't care about and 3 systems I do.
Because
I'm not sure where the tally
Quebec
lies
is
for
the
everyone
end-all,
else, but I think
be-all of
that's
decisions.
yeah, of course. That's what happens when you're a leader.
Yep.
All right. All right, let's go off on this one. So the scanning. What do you think's holding this one back?
I'm in development, just like Trauma said with the trickle down idea. It seems simple, but there are bigger issues at hand to be handled, and once those are perfected, I'll be happy to have that in. It's something I am able to look forward to, something I think will be very helpful, but it's not essential, not quite useful just yet.
I think they could do a tier 0 of it. I think they could roll out a tier 0 and be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, you have
They
it
did a
for
demo for it
ships.
last year.
You literally have it
Yeah.
for ships, and mind you, for those ships, it's still in a shit state, but whatever. But how hard is it to press tab and have a little ping go out and highlight things that are running around? It's not that hard.
Yo, I'm gonna play not even devil's advocate. I'm gonna play Star Citizen player. And my 50 my not even my 50 cents, my 820 million credit bet is that there is a massive issue with the constant stability of FPS combat.
I was gonna, yeah.
FPS combat barely fucking works. And this is coming from someone who spent 10 hours raiding dispo centers last night.
Oh, you fucking
The
crazy ass.
combat was very hit or miss. So we would go to Dupree, we would fuck shit up, and it would run beautifully at Dupree. We would go to like another system, another dispo center, and we'd hit maybe like we were running consistently 25 frames per second.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was to the point where we looked up at the server, we were running single digit server FPS. We're running 3 or 5. And it got to the point where we could walk in there, we'd be like, bang, bang, because there was no one fighting back against us. But we would go over to Dupree where it was when the server would recover up to like, I think last night at one point we hit 30 frames per second in a server. It was really, really, really smooth.
Well, yeah, but like the guards shooting at you though, bro. Oh,
hang on.
Honestly,
we get into the dispo center, we get out of our ship, and where every single one of us gets headshot.
Exactly.
Hey, Trauma.
We walked. Yeah.
Trauma, you're being called out in chat.
You really are.
I will defend you, Trauma. What they saying? What's happening?
Oh no!
The shit that they be saying, bro. Ghost, you're too funny.
Oh no!
Thanks for coming to watch, Ghost.
That is. I know who that is.
So, anyways,
there's only 3 people who know the autistic dolphin statement. But anyways, so my FPS thing is like when the server works, you gotta work for your FPS combat, which is that's just hurtful.
Ouch.
That's just
so
hurtful.
here's the thing that I have a very strong suspicion as to why they're holding it back. I think they're looking to have it be quote unquote complete and not be a tier 0 release. A tier 0 release would literally just be pressing tab, having it ping out, and highlight every other object that is of relevance to you, such as another person, another ship, and objects of interest like what was read out, right? But here's the thing that they're not going to have is they're not going to have this suit emission system built into the game yet. So they're not going to be able to, every time you ping, have it burst out and make you hotter than all other objects, making you easier to scan. They're not going to have that.
Call me a fucking Marine and give me a cran. I'm fucking simple. Give me a fucking ping.
Yeah, just give me the ping. That's all I care about. That's all anyone cares about right now. We don't
Also,
care about the details of it.
I think they might be waiting for Squadron 42 to finish.
Here we go.
So there's a video somewhere that I forgot where it's at, but a Star Citizen dropped a video where they showed what they wanted the in-game ping system to be. It was a cinematic, it wasn't gameplay.
Oh no, they had a full-fledged video. They had a whole working demo of doing exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's working. They have it. It works. They just haven't added it to the game. It's all in Squadron 42.
5 years. They had a video like 5 years ago, man.
this literally comes back to the whole point that we were talking about earlier with Squadron 42. They have all these features built into Squadron 42, and it's feature complete. And then they brought the teams that made those very systems over to the PU, and what can they not do? Take the stuff they made for a single player game and bring them into a multiplayer game and make it fucking work.
Wouldn't it have been easier to put it in a multiplayer game and then
Yes.
transferring that
That-
over to a
Yes,
single
that's
player?
exactly the argument. This is what they're seeing now. They built it into Squadron because they wanted Squadron to come out sooner rather than later, and I get it. I mean, they're building 2 games at the same time and an engine, so they're building 3 things at the same time. And actually, rumor has it they're also building another game off of Funder's backing, but we're not going to go into that right now because that's a whole nother mess. Anyways,
Yeah.
that has legal ramifications that I don't even want to touch with a 10-foot pole. Um, so
Not yet, anyways.
I just want to say before Ghost dips out, I want to correct the numbers: $7,800, not 1,000. If you're gonna make fun of me for playing League and spending money, get the number right.
So, anyways, you've got. Where was I? Right. So the single player game. You're building a system in a single player game, and you built it for that single player game. Now you have to take that system and bring it over to a multiplayer game, and then you have to make that system work in a multiplayer game. But the problem is, you didn't have the factor of other players in the multiplayer game. You only had NPCs. And now you've got to do it for players. You got to figure out how players are going to receive that burst of data. You're going to have to you literally have to rebuild the entire system all over again in the PTU or the PU. I keep saying PTU. Excuse me, guys. I'm not feeling my best today, so my voice is a bit more gravelly and sniffles and whole 9 yards. Anyways,
I just got an Xbox achievement for some reason. What the?
yeah,
Heyo.
for being a lazy fuck.
Apparently.
For being AFK on your Xbox.
for being AFK for 320
Achievement unlocked. Touching
sorry,
grass.
for 365 hours. Anyways,
Is that what it says? Oh
no,
hell.
I'm literally just messing with you. But yeah, they're literally having to rebuild these systems for a multiplayer universe that they weren't designed for originally. They were designed for a single player game. And so literally their excuse of we're going to bring it into the PU or we're going to bring it into fucking God, brain is not braining
We're
at the
bringing
moment.
it from Star City or Squadron 42 to the PU. It's not
You
going to
almost
work.
did what I did.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yep. I did.
I get
exactly.
it. You saw Stompy putting on a hoodie. I'd start stuttering too.
Of course I do.
But yeah, no, exactly. You build it for Squadron 42, and then you have to rebuild it for the Star Citizen PU because these systems are not designed in Squadron 42 for a multiplayer universe. And so they literally have to recode the entire thing. They have a framework to work with at the very least, but they don't have.
They have to now do a lot more for it than that they did in the game because this now has to also feature not just for the AI to be able to see you when you do the scanning, but also for players to be able to see you.
Yeah, I mean, and not just that, but also the emission system, right? So that's not a feature that's going to be in Squadron 42. I mean, they might make it something where the NPCs get like some kind of notion of, oh, there's someone in that spot, but if you move, they're going to go look at that spot and go, oh, there's no one here, whatever, I'll go back to my patrol. So I mean, they may get alerted, but that's a whole different set of protocols and paths, bootstraps, whatever you want to call them, to follow to get that effect to a player, right? To tell an NPC that there was a ping that went off at this location, that's a lot simpler. But to tell a player that there's someone who pinged over here, it's going to be a bit different. So on top of it being different, they also have to render it to the player as well. Because the
Multiple players
NPC
too if you have a team.
What's up, Trauma?
Slightly off topic, but right now, because nobody ever talks about these when it's time, I just got a notification that Xbox is running a buy one get one free sale on all sports titles right now.
And no one cares.
Woof.
It's all about
Fair
Space
enough.
Sim all the
Well,
time, every time.
does it count for wrestling?
Okay. Let me see if they're. No, okay, that's off topic. But Elite Dangerous, if they're doing that.
No, we're not touching that.
Oh,
No.
That's a
we're not
hot
touching
top.
that.
That's a hot load of garbage. All right. So
we're catching
does
up.
anyone else have anything to add to this topic, or did I just kind of talk it into the ground?
Yeah,
I think we talked
it
in the
into
ground. There's not a whole lot to talk about FPS scanning. Let's be real. If we milk that topic, we're probably no better than Board Gamer. So,
I mean, if you watch
I'd like
Board
to-
Gamer,
I-
it's because you are a board gamer.
Mhm.
if we move forward, I mean, oh my god, we lost inventory improvements. Okay, no. Okay.
Yep. Inventory improvements. This is a system
All right,
that will
so
allow
what
players to customize
what
their
exactly is
inventory.
inventory improvements? Outline that one for me.
Inventory improvements. We're a system that will allow players to customize their inventory pouches and other attachments. So I believe it's
Adding
probably what we
pockets.
have right now, but a lot fleshed out, better working, and hopefully I got to bring around a man bag into combat.
Yeah, the idea
You know,
is adding.
I'm not
like,
even
more
gonna touch that
pockets.
one. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I didn't even know that was going to be a feature, so consider that one
Meh.
not interested. I mean, don't get me
I'm
wrong.
not interested
I
either.
definitely want a better UI experience when it comes to inventory, because right now they've reiterated it at least 3 times, and each time it sucks. So
Can I give an example of hopefully more fleshed out editing, or not editing, like UI and
Yeah, go ahead.
planning for items? Okay. So I've been this entire session, right? I've been moving everything from Orison inventory to 8SU boxes, right? Okay. You still don't have enough power in your computer, nor will the server handle it to hit a move all button into an 8SCU. I still have
here's
to
the-
individually
used to
take
work,
out
though.
weapons.
Why the fuck doesn't it work?
It never, I mean, it works to a degree if you didn't have maxed out inventory.
well, here's the
Noted.
funny thing,
Okay,
Stumpy.
so what I
Check this out. It's just data entry, right? It's literally a database. So your items that are not physicalized, they don't have a thing to render yet. So until they do, all you have is a thumbnail and a data entry to tell you what that item is, that then they're attached to one another. So
So
when you're
telling me
looking
I
at
can't copy
database,
paste these fucking thumbnails into another inventory box?
I mean, it's literally just a button, right? Apparently making
Yes.
a button on UI is apparently extremely hard. I don't know why, but apparently it is. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So if you make a button that says move all, that button has to go into the database, find your part of the database that has all of your items in it, and say this button is moving everything from this database to this database until the database exceeds or meets, let's say whatever the size restriction is, an 8SCU box, and then stop.
But that's the thing, though.
Okay,
If you hit
so-
move all, it won't even do that. If you have inventory that exceeds, like if I have enough core armors, right, that exceeds the the 8SU box inventory. Holy crap, can't talk. Sorry. Bleh.
We
It
can't.
won't move
None of us
all
can.
everything and leave the leftovers either.
Yeah. I mean, here's the funny thing.
My,
You can actually glitch the inventory. You can put it all until it says it's full, and then you could leave it and come back, and then it'll still be partially empty. And then you fill all that up, and
I
now
had the
it's
glitch last time, but
exceeding the
yeah.
8SCU. And then if you try to move that box and get back into it later, you've lost half of the stuff because
Exactly.
you tried to glitch it.
Yep.
Anyways.
so part of my problem with the move all button, I want to bring that back up because nobody's talking about that shit, and I think we should.
All right, go for
the
it.
move all button back when I was a filthy med runner.
filthy med runner.
Something that I had to do is I had to move all my
Don't ever bring
cargo
that-
to
Don't ever bring
Madal-
that past up again. That's like child molesters. You don't talk about being a med runner.
I had to move all my cargo over to their base, which is at Hurl 1. Repeating, at Hurl 1, it's not a secret, guys. Everybody knows. And I had to move all my stuff over there, and I was able to just plop down my M2, hit move all, and half my inventory would go over into the Hercules, and then I'd be able to move it all over to that station, and then come back and do it one more time, and then be done. and then after 321, it just fucking broke and never worked again.
Because you had
Because
to
they
do it by
changed the system.
category. You
Yep.
had to do it per category at that once that hit. You had to do it individual. You had to do helmets move all. You had to do core move all, and that was just, it was fucked. I agree. It's completely fucked. It was efficient. It was nice. It was quick and easy. But once they
And now
give
I
the
gotta move
physicalized
everything into a
cargo,
box.
dude, I'm literally, like I said, I'm doing everything as we speak. And out of 117% in Orson, I've only gotten 8% done.
Okay.
I managed
Just
to move a
inventory.
lot of my stuff last night, but
Oh,
I
nice.
still got, I think,
So-
30% left to go.
Yep,
How much is
yep,
how
yep.
much more is on the list? We've touched a lot of it so far. I think we're like 7 topics in.
Half the list left.
So we also, the list pulling up is we've got the improvement scanning, EVA push and grappling. We've got that covered. Physical interaction with systems, interact with ship controls and other systems. I don't really care for that. So physical interactions with the systems,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
Essentially,
switching-
just
Yeah,
seeing
I-
your character
starting it
actually
up.
doing the push buttons.
I'm
I-
okay with that being
'cause
left
I
out.
thought I would have to manually, because I played DCS before. If you ever played DCS, especially if you play DCS in VR, it's even more of a nightmare. You gotta flick every single switch individually. So if you want to fly an F-22 Raptor, you better know how an F-22 Raptor works, so you can actually start that thing.
I mean, you already have the all systems on button. You have the power. You have the weapons on button. You have the and all that shit they have to keep lined up. Like they don't simply just
Well,
let
I
you
mean, if that-
anymore do like an all systems ready and then boom everything on anymore. You have to. Well, they have it now because you can double bind, key bind shit like I've done and make everything easier, make life easier. But they kind of have the implemented already. If they had a more efficient way for that, please tell me.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
If
I'm
you-
already going to be
if-
doing button boxes with my sticks. So, I mean, I'm already going to be doing that physically in my space here. So I really don't need it in the cockpit. So it's not even really a big issue for that particular thing.
Sorry.
But my thing with it is I lost my thing with it. Oh goddamn. Oh, I mean, if everybody has to flick switches, like you've looked at the Hercules, that has like 98 switches in it. The only thing people are going to be able to fly is a Drake ship because you're just going to be able to punch the dash and it'll turn on. So it's just going to be a Drake universe if that's what
Yes.
happens.
Hey, good thing
That's what they wanted.
good thing the Ironclad's coming out, right? Right?
I can't wait. Well, okay, so don't
Right.
jinx that because that's one of the things I'm really hoping for.
Look, I was really hoping for
so-
the Galaxy, and they decided to push it back for the Perseus.
Yeah, no,
Okay, the Perseus
that
is a
was
better
a
pick, though.
stupid
Prove me wrong.
fucking
I like-
move.
Oh, I guess I'll show myself the door.
Yeah,
Oh.
please.
Get the fuck out of here!
No, not just the door. Trauma, keep going. If you just exit
the
out the door,
airlock.
make a left, go down the
window
hall, the
next to me.
corridor,
Is that what
and
you
then
want?
hang a right, you'll find yourself at the airlock. Do me a favor and just hit that red button.
Where's the Among Us button?
just space yourself, will you?
This red button?
Yeah,
Straight
that
up,
one.
space yourself. On the other hand, however, I am going to be getting the Perseus instead. So
You
as mad as I
sellout.
am
Why are you
about
complaining,
I am as mad as I am about uh, about the Galaxy being pushed back. I'm gonna go for
Honestly,
the Perseus.
Honestly, I guess I can't be too terribly mad because base building isn't even going to make it in time for its intended launch anyways. So by the time
Yep.
base building is actually fleshed out enough to launch into the game, then maybe they might actually have the Galaxy in the game too.
5.0.
So
That's another one that's actually in the list here that's going to be delayed. It's base building.
yeah, I already figured that was. I mean, they've only spent 1 year on it. There's no way that it's ready to fucking launch. Not when it's
I
going to
mean,
be
they
a
showed-
core.
They
It's
showed
literally gonna be a-
promising.
It is promising, and they showed some great stuff, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I did not expect it to be 1 year complete. Absolutely not. Not even a year and a half complete. 2 years, maybe, and that's only if they focused on base building. But I mean, they don't have that many people working on base building. They've got one team of like maybe 5 people, I'm guessing. I can have to go look at the tracker to find out, but yeah. 2 years is my bare minimum to see that come out from the time that they announced it, and we're only 1 year into that, so we've got a whole nother year before base building. We might see a
It's
tier
fair.
0 launch of it though, where we get to at least have a fob down, but I don't know
A
about
fob.
that. I mean, they still have to finish the base building vehicles. They've advertised all of them now. We finally know what the hover cart is going to look like. We finally know what the ground
Well,
vehicle is going to look like.
can
In fact, not
I?
just one ground vehicle, but two, right? So one of them is that little like
I
Argo vehicle. The other
want
one
to.
is the Atlas platform, not the walking suit, but I called it like a I don't know. I can't remember what the name was. Start with an A. Anyways,
The Argo base building thing. I know what you're talking about.
no, not that
Hmm.
one. The bigger one. It's supposed to
Oh,
house like I don't know, 2 medium or 4 medium drones or something like that.
Yeah, that's the one we're talking
oh, you
about.
mean the one with like 16 SCU of building material that's supposed to hold or something like that? It looks like a
and
truck.
it's
I saw
like
something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
looks like
it's
a
a
Anyways,
so basically if you
my
take the
thing with
ballista, you take the
base.
back end off of it and you put a huge uh kind of
trailer on
cargo
it.
style well no, it's all part of the same frame. They were gonna in the first last year in the videos they advertised it as one with a trailer, but when you look at the outline of it now, the trailer's gone. It's all built into the same frame.
Hmm.
So it's just slightly longer.
Which one were we gonna say?
So the way that how I feel about base building is I don't think, and I know this is controversial and people might hate me for this. So, but
I
I
already hate
think
you, so it's
that
all good.
base building's not going to be. It's okay. I understand that, Philbit. But I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's gonna be a thing until like 1.0. I think that's when base building is gonna become a full-fledged thing. Because think about it.
Hmm.
I don't think they want to let us build massive bases in the fear that because here's my theory. We
Wipe
build
it.
a massive base in 4.0. It goes
Yeah.
to 1.0 and they fucking wipe it. Do you know how angry the player base is gonna be?
Oh, I'm
They're
perfectly
not
okay
gonna
with that.
recover from that.
Oh, they
Here's
will.
the thing.
I am
Here's the
You
thing.
might
perfectly
be
okay with that
okay
What
with
makes
happening.
that, but
trauma?
think of
Trauma.
morphologists.
I don't care about
Think of
that
morphologists.
because
Think of
think about it.
salty butt cheeks or
I
whatever his name is.
I do not care about any of those VTuber or YouTubers that are
Whoa.
all those people who are like all
YouTubers,
really
the
excited about it.
rich.
No, here's the reason why. Since this game has been going, since everything, whenever they do something new that's very massive, what do?
Cry about it.
No,
Sorry.
besides cry about it. That's the
Well,
afterwards.
I've never looked at
They
one of those
wipe the
YouTubers
system.
and seen them giving out a positive review.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I say forget it. I don't care. But look,
You were around.
every
Were you
time.
around for the mass? You were around for the massive wipes, right? Where you lost
Yep.
everything, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
All right.
here's
But
something that
that's the
I want to
thing.
bring up.
That's gonna happen because every time there's something big that happens, what happens? They do a wipe.
I hope it full
So they
wipes. I
There
hope
so
are-
it a
even
full
if
wipe.
you get
I
it,
dream of it.
There are already so many people who go, I have so much stuff in my inventory, I just hope they wipe. Because they don't want to take the effort to go and sell it themselves one thing at a time. Like
Mhm.
it's
That's
they
me.
they don't care about the ISK
Yeah.
or the ISK, wow, wrong game. They don't care about the UEC. They care about the convenience of having it just magically disappear. And don't get me wrong, we can help them with that if they just put it all in one ship and let us come after them. So I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
we can help make it
Fair enough.
disappear. If you're one of those people that are watching this either now or in the future, and you have a cargo problem, let us know. We'll happily swing by and take it from. I mean, really help you get rid of it.
Relieve you of your
We're
troubles.
the goodwill of the universe.
But that being
we'll
said-
give it out to people who truly need it.
That being said, so here's the thing. You've got people like me who play survival games, right? So I play a lot of different survival games. I've played Rust in the past, not a huge fan of it, but it was all right. I've played Conan Exiles. I've played
sucks.
Scum. I've played, gosh, I can't even. Space Engineers, like anything that requires base building, and seasons or different servers, right? Anytime you change a server, you have to make a new character, which means you have to make a whole new base. Or if you go into a survival game that's PvP and you spend fucking 5 hours building your base, and then the next day you wake up and it's just completely demolished to the floor, like you're having to lose bases all the time. So the fact that the game is just gonna wipe it, you're perfectly fine with that. Like I'm perfectly fine with that. Like I expect it, and honestly, after the game launches and I put a base out, I expect it to be hit the next day. I expect someone to come by, scout it, and be like, "Ah, yeah, we can take this, no problem. Here, let's just get like 20 people, and we're gonna take down the shields. We're gonna walk in there. We're gonna
See,
take everything when he's
and
offline, and just walk
that's
away with it."
so I feel the same exact way. I don't care. I personally do not care if faces get wiped,
I don't either.
but
Because it's
standpoint on
gonna
it.
happen.
When people look at Star Citizen, they go to the major YouTubers. Those people probably cry more than anybody else in the community. And so if they're looking at the major supporters of the game, quote unquote supporters, at this point they're being paid to play it. But they'll be like, "Oh, well, the game doesn't work, so the game's not fun, it doesn't work, or these people don't like it, and this is their job is to talk about it." They're not going to come over, which leaves potential that we don't find new victims. I mean, new recruits / players to mess around with in the verse.
So
No,
I
I
mean,
1000% agree.
there will be those salty people, and that's completely inevitable. They exist in every single game. However, when you have a game like Conan, and when you have a game like Space Engineers, and when you have a game like Scum, and people raid your base, and people go and cry to the server admin, "Oh, someone raided me, all my shit's gone." Big
You signed up for it,
fucking
didn't you?
like no one's gonna care. This is the nature of that game. This is also the nature of this game. But people haven't figured that out yet. They haven't figured out that this game is meant
Yep.
for all styles of gameplay. That includes the
Yep.
people who want to come walking across the sandbox to come and kick your sandcastle over because you literally spent 5 hours building the damn thing, and they want to see your time wasted. And
Those
that's
Javelin
enjoyable to them.
players who've spent a hefty amount of money are in for a rude awakening.
Yep.
Oh, I know. And that's here's the funny thing. That's enjoyable to these players. That is what they find fun, and that's okay. That is their style.
See,
Hey, we don't kick over sandcastles.
That's what
we,
I like.
we take the sandcastle.
So I met a PvP. I met a PvE javelin owner. Okay. Don't explain to
on.
me what that
How
is.
do
I don't
you-
even know myself.
How do you
Hey,
own a
guys.
warship and claim to be PvE? Please tell me how that works.
He likes to look at JPEGs all day.
That's exactly why I said I don't know how that works. I can't explain it. Anyways, so
if
I
if
told
he's
him,
gonna
it's going to be a PvP.
Yeah.
That's a PvP ship. And he said, no, it's going to be for PvE. And I said, the moment you pull that out of a docking station, you are now a target. Because in my mind, when I see big ship, I want to see if I can kill it.
No. Hold
I
on.
want to see if I can kill it.
If
or
I see a
can
javelin
If I'm
pull out of
patrolling
a If I see a javelin detach from a station and start flying away, I'm gonna follow it. Why? Because I want to board that shit, and I'm gonna take out the pilot. I'm gonna take that javelin that he spent all his hard-earned money on, and I'm gonna take it into Pyro. I'm gonna take it from him, take it into Pyro, get it relicensed, and now it's a hit vessel. It's no longer his vessel.
It's just
Yo,
how it is.
stop.
The bigger
You
your
shoot
ship
me an
is, the
invite, bro.
bigger the target you have on you.
Oh no, I mean I'm gonna see that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
friend that guy. I'm gonna 100% make him my friend because you know why? Every time I see him get on, I'm gonna go patrol the stations I know he's at, and I'm gonna watch that thing leave each and every time. I'm gonna take it from him, and then that's just another javelin to our fleet. And
You ain't wrong.
that is one thing that I'm actually really looking forward to. I know it's not coming till at least the 1.0, but I am so looking forward to being able to fucking finally
Actually-
take other people's ships. 100% legitimately take their ships. And I don't mean legitimately like legitimately. I mean like legitimately physically go take their ship and then take it over to the criminal side and say, "Hey, look at my brand new ship. You got a license for it?" Well, no, I was hoping you'd help me with that. Oh yeah. I can't help you with any documentation on that vessel that's not yours. Shh, quick, run. So, I mean, I am heavily looking forward to that. On top of that, I'm also heavily looking forward to the fact that I can take your ship and make it just vanish into pieces. And I don't mean by shooting it, I mean by crunching it. I mean taking it over to my hangar where it can be crafted and then breaking it down into pieces where I can craft other things. So basically a chop shop.
Right.
Not just that, but even like our holy savior Chris Roberts
Praise
has
be.
said
Glad you're on board. Thank you for going to Member Blizzard.
uh,
You
the whole
got
purpose of
some?
this is to be a direct competitor, not to Elite Dangerous, but a direct competitor to um, Eve Online. And Eve
Okay,
Online is crazy.
so hold
Eh,
on. Let me
I
tell you
don't,
something real
I don't,
quick.
I don't.
This game,
Wait.
even in its shitty broken state, is already surpassed Eve Online. So,
Yes, but
I don't.
I mean in the sense of being able to commandeer and take other people's ships,
Yes, now that I agree
that sort
with.
of thing.
So
That's an accurate statement.
I spend a lot of time lurking in the LFG, and I had the pleasure of talking to a dude who claimed to be one of the co-leaders of one of the largest orgs or clans or whatever you call them in Elite, and not in Elite Dangerous, in Eve Online.
So,
And he told me, and whether I believe him or not, he told me that a lot of people from Eve have already bought a fair amount of ships and are ready to prime and hop in here when the game is released.
Ooh,
He was
baby.
basically
hi,
saying
how's it going?
he was
Nice to
basically
meet you.
saying that the way that the game was going to go in the future is, he said, the people that are playing now don't stand a chance, which is a very interesting point.
Oh, they don't.
He said
100% they
because the
don't.
people in Eve are they're more experienced. The people in Eve are more experienced in combat. I said
Yep.
it's two very different combat forms, though.
Them some
It-
fight words.
He said,
okay,
I'm not
so hold
talking
on.
about.
I
He
I
said,
want to
I'm
put
not
that to
talking
bed.
about individual dogfighting. Hang on.
Sorry.
go Finish up, and then I'm gonna add to that.
He said that it's not about individual dogfighting. He says that when fleet battles become a thing,
Yeah.
Eve players are more experienced in large scale fleet combat than any Star Citizen player will ever be able to achieve within a fair amount of time.
That is
And
correct.
I said, in that
Yeah.
regards, he has a very good point, and I do agree with that, because I used to do large scale Eve fleet combat. I had a Titan. I would get called into multiple conflicts. And so
I'm guessing you bought your
that
Titan
made
pilot.
a lot of sense.
Got you.
I will say
No,
one point that is different to that.
I earned that shit. I earned that shit. Don't judge me. I earned that shit.
I will say that to the extent they are correct,
Yeah.
except there is now a more complexity to it in Star Citizen compared to Eve Online, because now it's not just you're coordinating ship from ship and having just to move your ship while your guns are automatically being fired, or you giving target solution for your AIs to fire their guns. Now you have to coordinate with your people on your cannons and turrets to be able to fire at the targets you want to go while you're
Hey.
coordinating with the entire fleet, while you're coordinating with your pilot to fly, because it's
Um,
not like one person does all anymore. So
Omega.
he is right in one part in the
So
communication with between ships, but not so much everything
I
else.
have a counterpoint for you. Ready for this one? What do you think
Hmm.
is going to take longer to learn? The ability to work together in a massive group of people, or the ability to point a gun?
The ability to work together is the longest part.
Exactly, and that's why they say that all these Eve players coming in that are like the nullsec Eve players, the people who are always engaged in these large fleet battles of thousands upon thousands of ships, where millions upon billions of dollars are lost in these fights. Sorry, estimated value. Um, so basically what's going on here is you have a situation of a group of players who have all understood and learned a particular meta of fighting, right? And this particular meta focuses on communication, execution of commands, and clarity of calls. Okay? These three things are very important. When you're in a large fleet battle, there's a lot going on, and you have to know those three things. If you're in a fleet and you're not the fleet commander, and you're not one of the scouts, or you're not one of the important people that need to speak up, you shut the fuck up. That's quite literally it. The only time you ever speak is if you call it you're dead, or basically so the fleet commander knows that he's lost a ship, or if you have other relevant information, such as you're the first one to spot a new threat on the battlefield, you can call to the FC and say, FC such and such approaching, blah blah blah, whatever the information is. But yeah, basically in the entire fleet comms, it is dead silent. The only time someone says something is whenever you need to communicate very important information, and never again. However, in Star Citizen, it's going to be slightly different because you're going to have different groups of people. And so, one thing that hasn't really been worked on yet is what voice system they're going to be using. Some people are starting to turn back to things like Ventrilo and TeamSpeak, because you can have better voice segregation for the different groups of people. So you have your fighters in one, you have your fleet commander who can broadcast across all channels, you have your gunnery and other things. And so you're going to have all these different voice channels going on with the ability to cross communicate across all of them with broadcast and whisper functions. And that's going to have to be a thing. But their ability to communicate is on point. They are already there. They already have that ability to coordinate and communicate. All they have to learn is how to fly the ship and how to shoot a gun. Quite literally it. Whereas all of the current players, they have to learn how to communicate.
That's true. You got me there.
So something that I've seen after running with GNet and a couple other orgs and some of the PvP orgs is I look at them and I am horribly disappointed in their ability to fight. And it's not that they're bad. Like there are really good dogfighters. There are really good large ship combat people. At the end of the day, that doesn't fucking matter. Is when I'm in there and I'm just listening to like people practice. It's not even actual combat. It's just like practicing in an ERT. The amount of useless bullshit that comes through their mics strangely irritates the fuck out of me.
Yep. I just keep my mouth shut though.
I was watching somebody, they were practicing while they were fighting an Idris. They were fighting an Idris. And it was an ERT, it was one of those critical threat Idrises. It wasn't even like a player Idris. And they managed to get fucking slaughtered very early on. It was because they had no comms. People were screaming, I've been hit, I'm getting hurt, I'm dead, what the fuck, I'm dead. At that point, you shut up. All you're supposed to say is either one, I'm critical, I'm pulling back, I died, and that's it. You shouldn't have to say any more things, just communicate the bare minimum. And that's comms in anything. That's comms in Squad, that's comms in the Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft. You just don't talk unless it's necessary. And you'd be shocked at how many like high level PvP, like even League of Legends. I've played in high level League of Legends. When I play with squads in Discord, we don't say anything unless it's relevant. So it's very uninteresting to watch us play. It's just very quiet. There's not a whole lot going on. It's why it doesn't make for good footage, which is why a lot of the shit you see come out of people in this game is or them not really doing anything of notice, is because real situations that require high levels of communication, high levels of coordination, it's quiet comms. And that is something that I miss from my EVE days, I miss from my WoW days, and I miss from even my Elite Dangerous days, is the amount of no talking in comms. There's no need
I would have to agree. 100% I'd have to agree. And here's the thing. They were able to develop these skills, especially in EVE Online, because of the way that EVE Online is designed to play, right? Because it's designed in a way that, like what Omega was talking about, where all they have to do is point, click, and click buttons for different things to activate, and all they're worried about is their timing and their position. It's not that big of a deal. So they can have that extra brain power to focus on how they communicate, right? But now that they've got that refined, now they can focus on how to operate a ship and how to shoot a gun, and then how to communicate well with those options, right? So they already have the ability to communicate, and then they have to figure out what's relevant in this game and how to, again, pilot and shoot. So, I mean, it's going to be easy for them to adopt this game coming from EVE Online, whereas these pilots our current pilots, they're going to be talking all over themselves and not going to get the relevant information out, and they're going to just die. And that's what I'm worried about
Something
with who we're playing with right now, is they do have a lot of good raw talent, and the problem is their communication. They don't have communication down. There's a whole lot of like rowdiness, and no one wants to rein them in, and no one wants to be that asshole that tells them all to shut the fuck up in a squad and to follow strict instructions and not go off and chase a tail when they're supposed to be helping so and so. Like there are different things here and there, but it's their raw talent is undeniable. They have a
Yeah.
lot of raw talent, but their ability to communicate and follow instructions is atrocious, and that's where the EVE players are going to walk all over them.
And we've already experienced that. We've been in a couple operations that communication was a big thing. That a lot of people talked too much, or were if nothing was
Well,
going on, people got bored. And
As example, Stumpy, you were in that one operation where we finally got boots on the ground, right? How much did
Yep.
we talk versus how much they talk? Give a
Little to
percentage.
none.
Give a
Like, we
percentage on
talked
how
about-
much we talked with our operation versus what they did.
Giving it was first time, I'd say about 15, 25% tops.
For us, we had 15%.
No, like 1.5 to 2.5%, 15 to 25. Like we had little communication because we had everything organized, everything down pat. And this is for the 20v20, right?
No. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking
Oh.
about the operation where we were crashing an event and we were asked to be boots on the ground.
Oh,
Remember that one? You and I were the last ones on the
Oh.
ground.
yeah. It was a shit show compared to.
They were talking they were dominating the airtime for comms, and
Yeah.
we were
Sorry, wrong,
literally
yeah.
just giving our small little like information to get in and get landed, and
Oh,
we
that
managed.
event.
Yeah.
Yep.
We managed
And
to get in
yep.
and get landed and get boots on the ground. Not only did we get on the ground, but they thought we were part of them.
Yeah, we got fucking kills, by the way, in that one chat, just so you know. Because
Yeah.
we communicated with what needed to be communicated. We did our job. We knew where we had to go, what we had to do. We shut the fuck up when we shut the fuck up. That was it.
And that also comes into pre-planning. When you have an event and you know, like when you have certain information like location and rough idea of what they're doing, you can plan, right? And so when you have a pre-plan set up as to what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, just knowing the area is sometimes enough. And so we had that. We had a plan in place. We were gonna come in low. We were gonna come in fast. We knew the guns were gonna be hot. We knew what was at stake. We knew our first ship was probably gonna take the biggest beating, and it did. But it was a C2, so it was okay. In fact, we had two C2s. One was chaffing the whole way to mask the other one, and it came in and got relatively unscratched. You guys are welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
But we both landed. And not
Yep.
only did we both land, but we got off our ships, and the people on the
Everybody got on
ground,
the ground.
the people
Yep.
on the ground who we are supposed to be attacking thought we were with them.
Yep.
Because by the time we got back and got on by the time we got on the ground, I forget what happened, but something happened to our suits, and I found someone's dead body, and I picked up their gear and put it on. And so I already looked like them, and so they just mistook me for them, even though I wasn't in the party, because they assumed that party markers are bugged, because that's a common thing nowadays. But long story short, let's round this back up. All right, communication is key. We had maybe 10 to 15% of total airtime, and we got our job done. Whereas the other 75 to 85% of airtime was all them. Now, mind you, they had a lot to deal with in the air, so I mean, I get it, but
Yeah.
a lot of it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
So,
It was any sort of griping or complaining needs to be kept to yourself in a high, and a very high intense operation, any sort of operation. And if feelings out the door, fuck yourself, fuck your feelings, focus on what's going on, make sure that your job gets done, and that's it.
Well,
I agree.
So,
I forget what even spawned this topic. What were we talking about originally?
comms, I guess.
Problems with Eve and how they're going to dominate Star Citizen players going in dry.
Right,
Basically.
but what was the thing being redacted or being pulled from 4.0 that we were talking about that led to this? I can't remember.
What was the most last one on the list talked about?
I'll consider completely insufferable is at the end of the.
I don't know which one it
when
was.
it comes to when it comes to communication. Something that I always like to throw forward is if you're getting to a high intensity sort of situation, you got to be in the mindset to deal with that. So if I ask people before we go into like combat and shit in certain situations in certain games, how has your day been? I've had a pretty bad day. Cool. You're gonna sit this shit out. You're not coming with us.
That's what's up.
Because you just told me you had a terrible day. This is not gonna make your day feel any better. Why?
You're not going to be able to make a clear decision correctly, though, to make this operation better either, right?
Because that's how it was back in 2017 Jumptown. We didn't have all the ships that we had now that just made air superiority in Jumptown really, really good. Like, your people who were on the ground had superiority of Jumptown, so you had to get yourself on the ground, get ballistas on the ground, get Centurions on the ground, and you had to take it that way. That's how Jumptown used to be. Used to be actually hard to take over. That, and it was profitable, so, I mean, people actually played it.
I mean, Jumptown was a fun thing, and then they just completely shat all over it with all the new shit.
Yep.
And so the thing that I enjoyed about one of my Jumptowns in 317.
Oh, you know what it was?
We held
Jumptown.
We had Jumptown for 17 hours, and the amount of words, because somebody decided to count, the amount of words that was said in that entire 17 hours was under 2,000 words. There was no point in fucking talking. The only time that we would talk is we'd be Harbinger inbound, and then someone would be like, my ballista has a lock, firing now. And then it would be splash or miss, and that was it. That was the conversation. That was as deep as it got. And because there was no communication, nobody was talking, nobody was distracted, we managed to load up the entirety of an 890 jump, every single part full of boxes, and go sell. We made like 210 million. Back when that was a lot, I might add. We made 210 million credits in 17 hours playing Jumptown. Which was, for most people in Jumptown, you never even got your ship off the ground or really go sell because someone fucked it up for you. Yep. So I haven't played with an org like that since. The org that I was in was just a group of guys who got together, who played Arma, who played like Battlefield and shit like that. So we just took the stuff we knew from there and we applied it to the game. We applied, if we have air superiority and anti-air down, we're going to dominate this shit. We had help from actual army people from around the world. They said, okay, this is the best location, I think, in this area that we can put down a ballista. This is the best location for a Centurion. So we overplanned the shit out of that. We managed to hold it for 17 hours. And the fact that we didn't discuss anything, and that I'm going to be completely real, I had Family Guy playing in the background while I was on my ballista, constantly circling around, scanning the air, because I had nothing else to do. I was in a ballista for 17 hours. I had to swap it out.
Though. It was that
I had to
easy.
swap out my ballista six times because I ran out of payload 6 times during the 17 hours that I was there. We had 6
they can just
ballistas
drop
on the
off the
ground
payload
and 5
with you, so you can just tractor it back on.
Mm-hmm.
That was before you could reload stuff that way, though. I don't think 317 had the reloading feature.
No, they didn't. That's what I was saying. Anyways. So
I found out. I remember where we were.
Go ahead,
as
Omega.
far as the list, it was base building that we talked about that got us into this whole thing. Because we went from base building to we went from the fact that there wasn't no base building to the bases being erased if when 4.0 becomes 1.0.
Okay.
And it went from there.
The people
I'm
crying over to I see that.
All right.
I see it.
So we've gone over the base building, and honestly, like I said, I don't expect it for at least another year. And I don't expect stations to come with that. I think that's going to be a 1.0 release. So I'm okay with that too. That being said,
I'm looking at weapon degradation, wear and tear. I kind of do want that.
That's the next topic.
But it has been removed.
All right, so
yeah.
I am anything that makes the game more tedious, I'm not in favor of. Anything that makes the game fun to play, I'm in favor of. So ping system is information. Information is fun because it helps me understand what the battlefield is like. So that is a useful thing. Wear and tear on the guns, okay, I can understand to a certain point, but if they take it too far, I'm gonna hate this system beyond
Malfunctions.
all possible belief. Because they have the same thing for armor too
So
planned.
the way that it was So the way that it was broken down, at least so that was a 2023 sitcom conversation, I believe. That was when the wear and tear was first brought up. So wear and tear is actually in the game, just a lot of people don't know that it's there. It's
It just doesn't
there
have
in
any
the fact that
effects.
if you keep reusing, yeah, if you reuse your ship for multiple days, eventually your ship's gonna look like dog shit. It's gonna function
Nice.
perfectly
Lands my
fine,
Hornet. Okay,
but it's gonna
I like it.
it's gonna have dents, it's gonna have scratches, it's gonna have scuff marks, it's gonna have like holes from where you got hit where they repaired it but it didn't fully repair. Like, and so that looks really cool, but you got to be using the same ship for like 5 to 6 days for it to kick in. My thing for wear and tear, why I kind of want it, is if you're playing with an org that doesn't really have the ability to maintain their weapons, if you go into combat with them and they're gun jams, God, that shit's funny. Like,
I mean, all of our stuff is gonna be handcrafted by yours truly. All right, maybe not me. I'm
like
not
if
gonna be
you
the
go to
weapons master. That'll be
five,
someone else. But still,
okay, so imagine this: you're in combat, you're running away with your ironclad or your Banu merchantman. You have it full of diamonds or some shit. I don't know what's going to be valuable in the future. You have it full of Tavaran slaves or something. I
diamonds.
really don't know what's going to be valuable.
Diamonds
I'm
are
just
going to
going
be
off of what
useful
Eve
in the
was.
future, by the way, because if you saw the slot for
Yeah.
their glass was diamond laminate.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're moving forward. You get interdicted, and your ship's now disabled. Now it's a personal thing. Stompy went out and fucked with another org, so now they're trying to teach Stompy a lesson. So they pull out their Bengal goddamn carrier, and that ship coring gun is pointed at your ironclad. Stompy gets down on the ground. He's shedding tears of sadness. Kelbeck's berating him for being such a Stompy. And they go to fire the gun and nothing fucking happens. Why? Because they couldn't afford to keep that shit maintained. So now, out of nowhere,
or it
Trauma to the
backfires and
hero.
goes
Oh, of
pops
course,
out.
the hero pops
Trauma
up.
to the hero. Yeah, Trauma hears the call from Stompy, and I said, Stompsworth, I got you, my dog. And I pop out with the entire org. Acid Puff, while side by side. We're leading that shit in. We core the shit out of that Bengal carrier with our own Bengal carrier, the hit Frankenstein. And we win that shit because we maintained our stuff. I think maintenance is important because it makes you focus on actually maintaining your shit.
So that
you
goes into
shouldn't
the
be able to
engineering
get
gameplay
into
that we already
combat
talked
with
about,
the
though.
ship be torped and have it not work. Yeah.
See, but that's on a ship level. If we're talking like FPS level, like actual personal gear being maintained, I feel like that's a level of tediousness that is almost unnecessary. I mean, if they do
Okay.
it right,
So
it'll be acceptable, but I have a feeling they're not going to do it right.
I raise you scenario 2. Stompy fucked with the same org a second time after we saved his life.
God damn it,
Stompy's
Stompy.
now on the ground. He's at Stompy's bar and grill that he put down on Pyro, and kicks open the door. 5 people in heavy armor. The guy walks up to him, knocks Stompy over. His martini falls to the ground. And they go to pull the trigger, but because they're a budget org and they can't support their own weapons, all their guns jam. Who comes to the rescue? But Zero him fucking self comes out, whips out his LH-86 and domes every one of them with 3 bullets each. And then he goes off, and they go off on some crazy adventure, and then we never see Stompy again, but he becomes like a legend. But like, it's I think that it's important because there needs to be some consequence for if you go through like a swamp with your gun and you come out the other side and you're not fully taking care of that shit shouldn't work. Why? That's just my 50
In the
cents.
military, you take care of your fucking weapon systems. If you don't take care of your weapon systems and your bolt happens to be fucking muddy, that shit ain't going.
Yeah, your
Yes,
weapon
but
won't take
do
you.
you
Take
want-
care of your weapon, so your weapon takes care of you. I want that in the game.
I
That
like
might just
that.
be
I
me though.
respect that. Yep.
You know,
I can
I
respect
took
that,
care of my
but-
weapon every single day when I was younger, and it didn't take care of me. It gave me two things I got to pay for now.
Jesus.
It shot
That's
the wrong
different.
person, I guess. I don't know.
That's different, I swear. You're not allowed to send those weapons into combat without being called a criminal.
I mean, I don't know,
Listen,
man.
You can still
They-
be called a criminal with a weapon.
all I got to do is send him in. It's considered social engineering, okay?
Social engineer.
Guys, I swear,
Um,
I'm just experimenting.
So, anyways, all right. So, what's next?
We have new weapons, including several new weapons, including the Volt weapon, which I don't know what it is. Has been
It
delayed. I
looks
thought
like
that was
the
a
Volts
taser.
from fucking Apex Legends. Sorry. That's
Okay.
it.
So,
no, the
I'm-
Volt
God,
weapons
I love
are
that gun so much. By the
are
way,
the non-lethal,
I'm gonna
the
weigh in
non-lethal
early on
stun
this one.
weapons.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
no. The Volt is an energy base, so they do damage. They're just
I'm pulling it up.
they're plasma based. Anyways, so
Mm.
I'm gonna weigh in early on this one. They have shown these weapons for the last 2 years and haven't delivered any of them. So what's another 2 years, right? So I'm okay with this. The weapons we have now are more than capable of killing, and I have my love for the LH86, the C54, and the R97. So we're all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the goal of the goal of the Volt weapons. Here we go. I have a second argument to the Volt weapons. So it's not really an argument. It's just kind of a pro for them. The goal of the Volt weapons is they're supposed to be a cheaper alternative to having the higher tier weapons. So they're lower. It's a lower quality manufacturing technique that this company uses. They're plagued with reliability complaints, and they have investigations up their ass since 2939, and have a higher ad than average failure rate. This sounds like some pyro bullshit.
This
But
sounds like
this is
some
I don't know if
bullshit
this is
weaponry.
legitimate,
It's
but
a
all right.
crafting equivalent of stone weapons and fucking Scum or stone weapons and Conan.
I feel
said
like you're
that
talking about
there's
the pyro
Zeniths-
weapons, the ones that look like they're from fucking Rust.
Nah, these look really fucking. These actually look clean. So we have the Zenith sniper rifle,
Ooh.
not available in game at all, ever, anywhere.
Op Daddy, anybody?
So a knockoff
it's
stun sniper.
All right, so
Yeah, and
here's
then
my
the
thing.
next one
If
they
a
have is a
sniper rifle is
prism
not a
shotgun, which is-
physical projectile, I'm not interested in it because I don't want a fucking tracer. If I'm
True.
sniping from distance, I don't want them to be able to go, where did he fire from? Oh,
Yep.
up there on that hill where that line came from? Yeah, let's go over there and fuck him up.
No,
Or
no,
shoot him
they'll-
back.
So Kelbeck's right
they'll
though.
go-
These were introduced 2 years ago. 322.
No, but they will go. Where'd that come from? Oh, that glare over there on the ridge.
Hell yeah, right. In the middle of the night, you have scope glint with a moon and a sun that don't even reflect the angle of the view of the viewer viewing
Yep.
the scope.
Scope glint.
It's just, it's a flashlight. You can't even call it scope glint because it's not a glint. A glint is light reflecting off of a surface. That is a glint. There's no light reflecting off of the surface. It's literally
Kelbeck-
generating light. It's a flashlight.
Yep.
No, but
Flashlight?
didn't
What?
we do the testing when Sniper Glint was first introduced, and you can see that shit from like 15 kilometers away?
Yeah. I got sniped one time because I didn't know he was there because he was off on my peripheral where I wasn't looking. But while I was dead, I saw him scope in again, and I saw the glint, and I said, "Hey, Stompy, he's right fucking there." And Stompy went, "Oh yeah, I see him. Hold on." And then he was dead.
Yeah.
As soon as a sniper gives their scope glint, they're dead. As soon
Yeah,
as a sniper's position is given away, they're dead.
So I raise you take off the sniper scope because you can swap them out. They mix and match, and just
No,
put
I
on,
agree
like, a
100%,
fucking-
and that's honestly what we're going to be
Just
doing.
put
We're
on a
just going to get
toggle.
really good with 4x scopes. But here's the thing:
That's what I
if
do
you
already. I prefer 4x over 8x.
The
Like,
Barry
here-
4X, yep, all the way.
well, here's the funny thing: if you have head tracking like I do, if you've got a Toby or you got another anything that tracks your head movement, you can take the gun and you can aim at the ground and you can scope in at the ground, and then you turn your head and look up, and you can actually keep that magnification like they're fucking binoculars, and you can see what's going on down there without giving scope glint.
Oh yeah, I remember you showed us that. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll probably fix that
Whatever,
eventually. Especially now that you said it.
Are you kidding? We've got
Yes.
3 viewers right now. No one's gonna see this.
Well,
And besides,
The
we're
3
already
viewers-
how many
Pause.
hours into this? We're like 2 hours into the stream.
Pause. Kelbeck, two of those viewers are me and Stompy, bro.
Shut up.
that means 3 of those viewers are me, you, and Stompy.
Shut up. Stop it.
Well, see, I see the benefit of having the stream now is that when we make it, not if we make it.
Yep.
When we make it, stop laughing at my shit. But when we make it,
Wasn't bad.
I DM something to Stompy. When we make it, that I believe that if people go back and they see what we were talking about in the past, because a lot of people do that. They'll go back and they'll be like, "Oh, what do these guys think about this shit?" And like, it back when the game wasn't out. Oh, what do they think about it when it is out now? I think that
Yeah.
is a valuable archive to have.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, for sure. And this is on YouTube. It'll live forever, so we're all good.
Well, yeah.
Well, and when eventually "fuck, damn, shit, and hell" are completely outlawed words, they can go back 5 years down the road and cancel us. So we got our shit ready, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, my stream's already, or my channel's already marked as non-appropriate for children.
Children.
So we can
Oh,
say
no.
Is it-
almost whatever we want.
Has that stopped any 14-year-old before with a mouth that plays Call of Duty?
No.
Hang on, I got this.
What about
Hang
an
on,
8-year-old
Let
who
me
plays
get,
Call
let
of
me get
Duty?
some more streamers in here.
That's just bad parenting at that
Get some
point.
more viewers.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, what were
Next
we
one
on?
would be quantum travel rework and quantum boosting.
I've been curious about that. And what the fuck is this quantum boosting shit? Is it
Okay.
your afterburner for quantum, or is
So,
it just jumping point to point like we usually do?
If you've played Elite Dangerous, this is the same thing as your Super Cruise.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that
Difference.
shit.
The only difference is with quantum boosting. You have full control over your ship, so you can control the direction of your ship. At least I think so.
That
All I-
sounds fucking cool.
That's
Okay.
the idea for the quantum travel rework between planets, but from like I think the boosting is essentially going faster from like say the
Well,
planet
'cause-
to a moon.
Well, quantum boosting is also used for circumnavigating the planet. Like if you're on a planet, you need to get around it. Aside from using the OMs and just quantuming from OM to OM, you can call it quantum boost also, and you can go off in a random direction in a significantly faster speed.
Ooh, okay.
I'm wondering if they do that if they're going to take out the OMs.
I don't know. I doubt
I
it.
doubt it.
Ooh, I doubt it, but that'd be
I doubt
interesting though.
But yeah, so if you're an if you're an erectile dysfunction player, it's Super Cruise. So I am kind of sad to see that isn't coming, considering that also was advertised 2 years ago.
Yep. A lot of these things that they're saying they're not coming were advertised 2 years ago.
Well,
Yeah,
their
it's
first
kinda
sitcon, albeit I will say LA sitcon really wasn't all that it was hyped up to be. If that granted, I went to sitcon after I went to Anime Pasadena, so I mean, it was very underwhelming compared to Anime Pasadena. A lot safer and a lot less cringe, but not as.
Well, remember
Um,
we're going from anime to Star Citizen, completely different circles.
Wholly
yeah, you would
different
think
circles.
so. You would think so. We
Are you
have
saying I'm
specialized
wrong?
armor. We have specialized armor, which we touched on. Quantum boosting, which we touched on. Ground vehicle loading and cargo lifts have been delayed.
Wait, what?
Other than
What
ground
was that
vehicle
one?
loading and
Ground
unloading,
vehicle loading.
ground vehicle and unloading on cargo lifts have been delayed.
Cargo lifts.
You know, like the cargo list that you use in order to bring up supplies or
No,
bring them down
I
for the
know
trip.
I know what that is. I don't understand the premise behind the delay. Like, isn't that what we
I
already
believe.
have?
Oh, I know what it is. You cannot pull up small vehicles and ground vehicles using the freight elevators.
Oh, did they
And
actually
that's what
say
they're
they're
talking
going to do
about.
that now?
Yeah,
It
they were
was
going
a
to do
feature
that,
that
and
we're
they rolled
going
it
to.
back.
Okay, I'm glad they took that back and decided to do it because that's what was advertised in the video yet again 2 years ago.
And they're not doing it yet.
I I'm sensing a trend here. 2 years ago, everything getting pushed off.
Yep. And of
All
course,
right.
we did talk about the reputation system briefly, but we didn't get into more detail about that.
So they only just announced the reputation system, or at least the revised reputation system, just this last
Mhm.
CitizenCon. So I honestly didn't expect it to hit the game just yet. So
But we already have a reputation system. So does this mean that Pyro just
yes,
doesn't have a reputation system at all? Or is
correct.
the
Yeah, I mean
rework is not going to go for a
you'll
while?
have stations and you'll have places that you can build rep with, but um you're not gonna have the dynamic reputation. Because if I remember right, there are certain factions in the game that if you do work for other factions, you're gonna lose reputation with another faction. Like if
Mhm.
I mean they kind of already have that now in Stanton. If you do work for who is it? What's the one around ArcCorp? The PvP group.
Black
BlackRock,
Vaughn.
Blackjack.
Oh, bit
Blackjack.
whatever it's called.
No,
Oh,
Blackjack
Oh,
is
Blackjack is security. Bitbite or some shit. I forgot.
oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
some hacker group.
no, it's not a
Bitcoin.
it's not a data one. Anyways, regardless of what it is,
Oh,
if
Budo.
you're doing
Budo.
Eckhart stuff, if you're doing Eckhart
Yeah.
stuff and you do missions for the ArcCorp group, you lose the reputation with Eckhart.
Yeah, it is the black. It's the black thing, BlackRock. Whatever the
Is
fuck
it
it is.
BlackRock? I mean,
Yeah.
he's got a few that he doesn't like, but I mean, if you do work for
I
any
know
of them, you lose
specifically
reputation
from
with them.
cheesing the fuck out of the F7A missions that it's BlackRock. That
Okay.
if you do, if you, and yeah, for sure, because it's really weird. It just didn't make sense because he's like assassins versus they're like security, which is ass backwards. But yeah, it's definitely the
Yeah.
BlackRock service group.
I mean, there must be some kind of lore somewhere that like someone pissed in
I-
his drink or something. I don't know, but for some reason it doesn't like that group, and so if you do work for them, he gets pissed off.
Yeah.
Hey, didn't Stompy just say he did a bunch of work for them? Stompy, god damn it, you pissed in his drink.
It was me who pissed in Miles Eckert's drink, and he stopped giving us the missions for the F7A shit. It's my fault, guys.
God
I
damn it.
see a pattern here with Stompy pissing off orgs and pissing in drinks.
Hey man, that's Krendor's job, not me. Come
To
on.
keep our eye on this one.
Yeah, Krendor's out today. He had
I took
to
his place.
he had to take a shuttle over to where oh he went to Maria Pure of Heart. He had a situation going on there.
Oh boy. Right on. Hope he's okay.
Yes, I too have heart attacks every time I see the frame rate in there. Are you guys
Anyways,
wrong? Remember when Maria Pure of Heart first came out? You could get like maybe 12 frames in the hospital. That shit was dark.
Right?
That was. I dreaded, even though Loreville has always been my starting point since Loreville's been a thing. I've always dreaded spawning at Loreville after I die because like I'm already frustrated that I die. Now I got to deal with the shit frame rate.
imagine landing at the landing zone, taking a train ride all the way to the hospital, and then trying to walk through that hospital while you're still bleeding out and trying to get a room, and you're at 12.5 frames a second.
Dear,
And you're
dear
overdosed
God,
on
I
drugs.
couldn't.
Yeah,
My character would be dead by the time I make it to the bed.
most people
Oh
were.
my God, that's how I used to. That's how I used to steal ships. I used to overdose the Hammerhead pilots to steal the Hammerheads from the safe zones.
Nice.
Overdose the Hammerhead pilots.
Then they patched it. They patched it so you could no longer overdose Hammerhead pilots. And I
Oh,
was
dude.
like, mother of God, because because what I used to do is I used to steal UE Hammerheads and then go take them on ERTs. And
Which is
because they
smart.
would just auto target everybody, and you wouldn't get a crime stat for overdosing the Hammerhead pilot because the Hammerhead pilot would overdose, fall to the ground, and despawn it didn't count as killing them because you giving them medical care. And so
Ah.
You overly generously giving them medical care.
so you steal the
So-
ship that way, and you could go on to do ERTs. I missed that. I miss
Yeah.
people
alright, so
giving me wide berth because I'd show up in a UE ship and they'd think I was
How
like,
many
coming to
how many
kill
more
'em.
we got? Let's touch on a few more of these really quickly.
We're done.
That's it.
We're
That's
done.
that's
everything.
it?
That's the whole list. It's all 25.
Oh Jesus! All right. Well, all right. I stopped keeping count a while ago as to what I was gonna keep and what I didn't care about, but I'm pretty sure I'm somewhere around a 50-50.
I think the
Yeah.
only
Okay.
thing we didn't talk about was the ladder rework. Do we want to discuss ladder reworks?
So, I mean,
Ladder
Going
rework.
up
What?
and down. Yeah, essentially making it better to go up and down ladders.
I really
Oh,
don't
you mean
even
like
use
having-
ladders as it is because I
I,
just.
di- I
You
didn't
mean-
realize that
wait,
was
wait,
so.
wait, wait.
I didn't realize
Wait,
that
wait,
was
you mean
something
like-
important enough to actually include.
Getting stuck in a cycle of not being able to go up and down and get out of your ladder in a C2? Tell me more.
Mhm.
I remember that. That was the cursed fucking patch.
I had to get punched out by one of you fuckers.
The
and
only-
shot
Still a
at me
cursed
to have
thing.
it work.
The only
Yeah.
ship that really needs it is the Reclaimer or Redeemer. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah, the Redeemer is the
Oh,
only way you can
no.
get up its flight deck is by
All the
climbing
Hercules
ladder.
series, anything with a long ladder.
Yeah.
I see it, Kelbeck. Sorry, going back to what you were saying about the Connie PDS. I see it. It's right there on the butt.
It's disgusting. And on top,
Yeah.
at the front, right?
So since we're talking about things that are being removed, let's talk about one thing that's being added. How about point defense systems on things that aren't capital ships?
You mean
I
useless
don't-
Why
I
the
don't-
crutches?
hell-
I don't support that.
Because useless crutches for new players. Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why
It's
can't
a
I?
money grab.
Why don't you just make a light fighter have a fucking
The whole
point defense
point.
system?
The whole point of having
Why
a
not?
capital
With a
ship is to get
PDS.
extra features. One of those extra features is not have to worry about incoming torpedoes as much, because you know
Make my
your ships
turret
have
on my
blind
Hornet
spots.
Fucking have auto aim, basically. Like you make me have to worry about everything in front of me, and when I want to have,
Hey, hold on.
if somebody
if-
goes over me and shoots, what's up?
If you're gonna put point defense turrets on a Connie, I want to see them all over my my Zeus.
Preach,
My
Yep,
arrow
I
needs
agree.
it. I need it
I
on my
agree.
arrow, guys.
Zeus.
Give
My
me some
arrow
point defense
needs it.
turrets
My
on
Zeus
Zeus.
On
size
the
nine.
wings,
The
on
arrow
the
needs
wing
it.
size ones.
Sure.
Okay, so if we want to talk about something else, remember how they were talking about AI blades for the last couple of years?
Which
Yeah.
never came.
So this is a talking point on Reddit right now, where they said blade technology, AI ships have their own turrets, been firing for years. The tech has always been in the game. CIG just doesn't want to open Pandora's box. How do you feel about that standpoint?
I agree. They don't want to
Yeah.
open a Pandora's box. They want players to have multiple cruise ships to actually have people playing with each other. But you know what? I want to play by
This is-
myself in a large ship.
This is a
Yeah,
double-edged
Fucking give it
sword.
to me.
This is a double-edged sword, okay? So you've got these people who go, I want to play by myself. I'm going to come into a multiplayer game and play by myself.
Which you can do,
Okay,
regardless.
the only reason you're playing by yourself is because either A, you're asocial, B, you're antisocial, and that's dangerous, or C, you're just that much of an asshole and no one wants to play the fuck with you. Right?
Yeah,
Or
sounds
D,
very
all
much
the
stumpy.
above.
All the
Or
above.
D, all the above, yeah. So, I mean, AI blades, for some of it, I can understand. I'm okay with AI blades, but honestly, I don't want AI blades per se. I'd rather have hireable crew. I think hireable crew over AI blades is far better than any other option, because that means I have to go to a place. I have to leave my landing zone. I have to go to a place where they congregate, maybe at all the different Lagrange points or stations, and you have to go into the bars and into the food courts, and you have to find these guys, and you have to be like, hey, I want to hire you. What are your skills like? And then you have this conversation with this NPC where, oh wait, I feel like Starfield has already done this.
What's up? What
Right.
about Starfield?
Talking about AI crew. So instead of
Well,
having AI
yeah,
blades,
they're-
actually
they're-
have hireable
dog
crew
shit.
where you can say, hey, I want to hire you. You can come aboard my ship, and then we're going to go do shit. And basically, when you get to your hangar, the AI is sitting in the hangar, and when you call your ship in, they go and they get into your ship, and you give them a task to do, and then you say, all right, this is your turret, and they go, okay, that's my turret. Or you go, hey, this is your engineering console. They go, yeah, that's my engineering console. I know what that job is. I'm going to do that now. But I
See,
mean,
I liked the idea of that when they talked about it. So they talked about that you could buy Timmy Never Misses His Shots Magone, or you could buy Roger's Never Flown McGee. And I would always pick up Roger's Never Flown McGee, because at least I can train that shitter into whatever I want him to be. And eventually, over time, he just gets better and better and better and better and better.
Here's the
They
thing.
said that it would be like machine learning; they'd get better as time went on.
all of your AI, all of your AI should be temporary for X amount of time. You're paying them for their time, right? So they're just mercenaries. They come aboard your ship. You've already paid them up front, right? So if your ship dies and they die, well, I mean that money goes to their kids. But you know, they're AI, so who cares?
Fuck their kids.
But you've lost
Yeah,
that
fuck
money.
their
The
kids.
the moment you
Who
paid
cares
for
about
that, the moment you paid to hire them, it's not like it's not a net 30 thing where you pay later. It's you pay them up front and then they come work for you. And
Mhm.
then when their time expires, they're done.
Or they can go on auto pay.
But
Permanent crew until they die.
you shouldn't have
Save
crew.
5% with AI auto pay.
You shouldn't have crew that are permanent, right? So when you, like in Starfield, when you hire crew, you keep that crew on and you get to improve their skills little by little. In Star Citizen, when you have an AI crew member, it's because you paid for it's like a whore. When you pay for their services, eventually they do have to leave, right?
Not
So
unless
the
you
crew
pay
are
them
like
to
this
stay.
too.
The captain's log associating whores with Star Citizens in
That's
circa
right.
2024.
101.
So
But
anyways,
hey, by the same
I
logic,
had to throw
if you
some
pay
like
them,
I had to throw some charged words out there so that way it grabs people's attention. We've been streaming for so long, I think people are starting to get bored. So just
Yeah.
recapture their attention with a really powerful word. Anyways,
but you
so
should have to pay them like for the set period of
2.5
time
hours.
to
We're
keep
not
them.
doing too
Or
bad.
well, the only reason I say it this way is because if you do it this way specifically, those players that want to play by themselves, you know what? Fine, let them play by themselves, but make it cost them something significant, right?
Mhm.
Set the price
See,
for the good NPCs really up there, and set the price for the really shitty NPCs somewhere in the middle.
See, my argument is you want to play a space simulation game by yourself, go to Elite Dangerous. That's set up perfectly to play by yourself. You could fucking have a ship that's bigger than the fucking Javelin running around, and it's completely AI crewed. That's awesome. That's amazing. But if
Yep.
you're coming into Star Citizen where the whole point of the fucking game is its community, and you don't want to interact with the community, I
fuck
think that
community.
you should be able to run maybe like at the biggest ship, probably a Constellation. I think any bigger
a
than that
medium
is
class ship.
Yeah.
No, anything large
I think
class like
any-
a Constellation should not be more than. You should have a minimum of 2 people. Anything that is medium class, I think you should be able to operate by yourself, at the very least.
I just
Yep.
think it's an injustice that you should be able to come into a game like Star Citizen and be able to play by yourself. It's first off, that's the person I'm punishing first. If I roll up
Yep.
in my Polaris
Well-
and I see somebody in an ironclad just by themselves with an ironclad assault fully crewed with AI, I'm gonna launch a torpedo that shit, and assuming CIG doesn't put 95 fucking PDS systems on it, I think it's gonna connect. There's not a whole
I mean,
lot
when you're
stopping
throwing a
it.
couple.
Even if they put 95 PDS systems on it, guess what we're gonna do? We're just gonna saturate the air with torpedoes.
Yep.
Like, 'cause
Numbers win.
my perfect idea for the Polaris is I designed it the other day. Is my perfect idea for the Polaris fleet if you had to run, if you were on a budget and you were a poor son of a bitch and you couldn't get a Kraken because Krakens are literally $2,000 with store credit, $1,600 without it. If you wanted something that you could use as your flagship, the Polaris is a pretty good example of that. But you'd have to run your Polaris with 2 Harbingers because you could have it that 2 Redeemers,
Perseus.
maybe something in between. I see a Perseus in the middle jointing it with a Hammerhead. And
Mhm.
that way now you have a fleet that can easily defend itself in a 360 angle, spearheading it with a Polaris to fire in missiles as the Harbingers fire in their smaller torps to saturate the air. The Harbinger's a missile boat. If you're using it for anything other than a missile boat, you're doing it in injustice. It's a missile boat, and it's always going to be.
Yep.
And so that's how I viewed it. I viewed it that could be a current day fleet operation. You could easily pull it off, hopefully by the end of the year.
Trauma, you touched on something, and I completely agree, but I want to add one more thing to it. You mentioned that if you come into this game to play solo, into a game that is all about the community, and you don't want to play with the community, you're going to quickly find that the community really want to play with you. So one way or another,
Yes.
you will have to deal with the community.
Yep.
That's how it's always been. Elite Dangerous, and I hate to always go back to this, but this is the spaceship game I spent the longest time on besides Eve. Elite Dangerous was a game that was a solo person game until you left the safety of the bubble. Then trouble came looking for you, and I was often that trouble. I prided myself
then
in being
trauma
that
came looking
trouble.
for you, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, I got hired by a lot of people to come act revenge on people, and that was something I was very successful at. That was my gameplay loop. Besides kidnapping people in my fleet carrier, I would. That's a topic I won't talk on. I actually got reprimanded by the game devs. But my it was funny as shit. But my thing is that people would often beg me to not blow them up. And they said, I just want to play by myself. I'm just a cargo hauler. Then why the fuck did you nuke a fuel rat? See, you can't have the best of both worlds. And I say this about Star Citizen 2, is solo players will often, at least what they say now, is this even happens currently without fully fleshed out fleets, is a player will come in, they'll attack somebody, and that person comes back with friends, and then they want to bitch and fucking moan about how they're a solo player. They were never going to win that fight regardless. Then don't pick a profession where people are going to want to interact with you. And that's everything. The only profession where I think you can be most likely left alone is a rock miner. Most people aren't going to pick on a rock.
Here's the funny thing about Eve, because you talked about Elite Dangerous, but in Eve you could also... Because you controlled an entire capital ship with just your brain, facts by the way.
Yeah, I know. You were literally in a capsule with your brain connected to the entire infrastructure of your ship.
You were plugged into a pod. The pod was like a whole neural link, and then when your pod was injected into a ship hull, all of a sudden your entire brain connects to all the systems of the ship, and you just think about stuff and it happens. That's the whole lore behind how a ship operates. But you're the only person aboard that ship. Okay, and this ship is literally multiple football fields long for like a battle cruiser.
My avatar was.
I wonder why
was
what the load would be on your brain for that.
A lot, a whole hell of a lot. But I mean, the ship has its own computers too to kind of alleviate half of that, to kind of buffer a lot of it. But here's the thing. Players, because of that system where you could control an entire ship by yourself, no matter how large it was, you could play by yourself in EVE Online and be relatively unmolested, depending on where you go. If you were smart, you'd find the places that no one would ever go and still be profitable. But anyone who tried to play solo in EVE Online would eventually find themselves getting shafted by one group or another. If you played in high security space, there was a group called Code, and they would eventually find you, and they would eventually send you to your maker. I mean, they'd all go to their makers too, because Concord existed, but, you know, they'd find a way to exploit the system and make sure that your ship died as well. And your ship in high sec, because you thought you were safe, was worth multiple billions of ISK, and yeah, that's all gone now. But in low sec or null sec, when you get out there and you're trying to play solo, you can kind of skate under the radar on the low populated systems, or even into a wormhole by yourself, you know, because not a whole lot of people did a whole lot of wormhole stuff. But eventually someone would find you and someone would blow the shit out of your ship and out of your stuff, and there's nothing you could do about it. You could bitch and complain all you want, but the game was designed to be a multiplayer game, and Star Citizen is the same thing, except on a whole new level, because it's not just one person that controls a ship, it's a whole group of people that controls a ship. And there are multiple ships of multiple people all coming for your ass.
So I wanna pitch in. So someone on Reddit did the math. So the Titan that I operated in Eve was an Avatar.
Yeah.
It was the Amar. It was one
The
of the Amar
flying,
class
the flying
ones.
golden penis.
That
We
is-
know.
Yes, but it was basically impossible to take down if I didn't want you to. It was.
Well, that's not entirely
14
true.
It's 14 kilometers long.
Yes, 14 kilometers, which is roughly 12 and a half miles.
God damn.
Yeah. So those
Uh-huh.
shits were fucking massive. No, that's the other way around. Isn't fucking kilometers smaller than miles? I don't
No,
know.
miles are shorter than kilometers.
Okay.
Wait, is it? I don't know.
No,
No.
it's
No.
3 kilometers per
1 mile.
1 mile.
No,
difference is
that's
that kilometers-
meters. That's meters to yards. That's not the conversion.
It's like 3.5 or
Hold on,
2.5 kilometers.
We
to a
have
make
mile.
this-
Google, guys.
let's make this official.
That is what I'm doing.
1 mile is 1 kilometer is 0.6 miles. So a little bit
Yes.
more
Yeah.
than a mile. So Kelbeck was right. I was wrong.
No,
Fucking
it's
Kelbeck.
0.6
you were
miles.
right. No, the mile
Oh,
is.
I was right.
Yeah,
that
Oh,
means
I
it's
was
less.
right. Oh, I was right. Okay.
So
Never
14
Never mind.
14
Fucking Kelbeck.
kilometers is 8.6 miles. So
It's still a lot.
slightly less than half. Anyways, slightly more than half.
yeah.
All
Just barely.
I know is that I was able to control that fucker by myself. So that's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing I'm worried about in the future. Is yes, the javelin is nowhere near as large as the Avatar, and I still get pings to this day to hop on and give my account over to somebody. By the way, but my thing was with it is that if I ever roll into the verse and I'm minding my own business, I'm on my Kraken in some random planet, just docked there having a stripper party, and a javelin fucking flies over my Kraken and opens fire on me, and I find out that there's one fucker on board that shit. I'm going to do everything in my goddamn power to board him and massacre him
Well,
because
hold on.
I believe that is justice.
Hold on. There is absolutely only one reason, literally only one, why there should ever be one person aboard a ship flying that ship, and that is if you need to move the ship from point A to point B and it's not actually in full operation.
Yes.
'Cause
Only
the pilot
time.
will never
However-
have access to all the guns.
But javelin players are going to try and fly an Aegis by themselves, Kelbeck.
yeah, they can
What
do
are we
that,
talking
but they
about?
can't. But they don't have access to all the weapons and
Well,
arsenal.
here's the
in
thing.
first
If
place.
you're a-
right, what if they want to just role play? You know, one day
If
they want to
you're
play
a
captain, one day
pilot-
they want to play gunner.
If you're a pilot, the only capital ship that actually has any weapon system access is literally only the
Idris.
Idris, and that is the railgun.
Yep. And you better be flying anti-coupled, and hope to God to get lucky with that shit.
The only reason why the railgun was given to the pilot to control is because it's a fixed weapon to the hull. It's literally built into the hull. So basically where the pilot aims, it is going to shoot. You can't just give
Yep.
a gunner to the railgun and have the pilot, because then the railgun operator is going to have to go left, go right, go up, go down, 2 degrees, whatever. The whole thing is just stupid. So they gave it to the pilot. It makes sense to do that, and I'm okay
What's
with
the-
that, but it's the only weapon
The
system.
way I
Everything
wanted
else is
Idris
turreted.
combat, the way I wanted Idris combat to be, and I'm extremely disappointed that it isn't like that. You guys ever watch The Expanse?
Yeah,
No.
I have.
Okay, so if you watch The
It's very
Expanse,
future- it's very
remember towards the end
realistic.
when
Okay.
remember in that one thing where they were going backwards and they were lobbing railgun shots back at their enemy?
Yeah,
That's what I wanted.
that's
I wanted it to be
decoupled.
super. Yeah, I wanted it to be super fucking hard. Like,
Again,
because the
that's
fact that they were
decoupled.
hitting. I know, I'm aware. But I wanted it to be mad difficult. I wanted it to be very hard. Like, your chance of hitting a railgun shot without pulling out a book and contacting Neil deGrasse Tyson and Einstein from the grave was going to be like astronomically low to hit.
Look, we
I'm
just
just
took their
saying the
brains and
railgun
programmed
needs
them
to
into the
be-
computer, so
Just put him into a capsule and slam him into your Idris.
right? That's your new targeting system, Neil deGrasse Titan.
Yep.
Whatever.
Dude.
Yeah, man, if I had to listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson talk to me every time I wanted to take a shot and he tells me about the features of the universe as I try to pull the trigger, like,
Honestly, that would be kind of
You're gonna tear
fun.
the fabric of the space
I'd
time
be okay
continuum
with that.
every
you
shot.
know how I think
I'd be
as,
like, great, just do
insightful,
it.
as deep as it got. I feel like think how hard it'd be to pull that trigger like 3 tours in. Be like, but if I pull the trigger, Neil deGrasse Tyson's gonna tell me something super insightful that made me regret pulling the trigger.
Oh no,
Such
I'll
as if
never
you miss
regret
the
it.
shot, it's gonna
He'll still
go to another planet eventually.
he'll still tell me exactly what's gonna happen when I pull that trigger, and I'm gonna be okay with that. See, like I
No.
said, like I said in our Discord, like I have ethics to a certain point, and when my ethics do get in the way, I have people for that.
I saw
What's
that.
it called? I want it to be so. If you guys ever played Mass Effect 2, there's
No, Mass
there's a
Effect 3.
small conversation between 3 NPCs. Okay, there's a small conversation between three NPCs in Mass Effect 2 when you finally go back to the Citadel for the first time. And they're talking about why you don't take a shot with their railgun unless you know you're going to hit your target. And the
Why you don't
argument that
eyeball
they
your
said
shot.
is this is a railgun. Okay, let me finish. They said that this is a. Do you have the fucking script right there and you're correcting me, or like,
Yes.
You fucker.
but
I do.
I remember him being like, okay, he's like, okay, soldiers, why don't you take the shot, blah, 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 blah. And it's basically like, if you miss, that thing's going to keep going till it finally hits something. And their argument was that could be an asteroid, that could be another ship, that could be like Timmy eating ice cream on a planet.
That is not my problem. Sorry.
But imagine,
I am perfectly
imagine
okay
you
with
fire
that.
your Aegis railgun. Imagine you fire your Aegis railgun shot, and like 6 months later, you're minding your own business. You're sitting in a bar, and you get a crime stat level 5.
I mean, okay, hold on.
You want
Because
to
you
hold
find a
hold on,
species
hold on,
on
hold
every
on.
here.
planet.
Go into the
Oh.
city, point your gun in the air, and unload an entire mag in random different directions, vertically, of course, and just see what happens.
Eventually, that comes back down, and
I
it'll
mean,
do damage.
let's be
Not in
completely fair.
space.
The chances, even in a city, even in a crowded city like New York City, if you were to fire your gun straight up in the air so it didn't hit a building on the way up, the chances of it coming down and hitting a person are significantly small. Like very, very,
I
very
don't know.
small.
If you fire your railgun and you hit ArcCorp, you're bound to kill a couple hundred people.
I mean, that's ArcCorp though. That's an entire city planet. But I'm
Mhm.
talking about in
Coruscant.
New York City. Like if you were in New York City and you
And
fired
shot
your
a
gun
railgun at
straight
it?
into the air, that bullet coming back down, the chances of it actually hitting a person in a crowded city like New York City is actually pretty small.
Can I
Like,
be
very,
really
very small.
scientifically annoying real quick? Why the fuck would a railgun traveling at Mach G just come back down in atmosphere?
We weren't
No,
talking
you'd
about.
be shooting it in
I was more
space.
talking about a pistol. I was more talking about the chances
Okay.
of.
Okay,
Because
sorry.
he's talking about firing a
Second
railgun and then
no,
like
no.
a week later getting a crime stat
Pause.
5.
He's
Let's
like,
bring
"Pause,
back
hold
up Stompy. Let's bring back up Stompy's conversation. Who the fuck is putting an Idris pointing straight up in the air to fire the railgun shot?
I mean, someone might have been looking to hit the station.
Do you want me to read the script to you, by the way, from that? Because I have it right here. I really do.
Fucking go for it. Go for it. Go for it.
Kelbeck, is that okay with you?
Fuck it, but it'll be the last thing. We're gonna close on that.
Fair enough. So here's a full speech from Gunnery Chief. This recruits is a 20-kilo ferrous slug. Feel the weight. Every 5 seconds, the main gun of an Everest-class dreadnought accelerates at 1.3% of light speed. It impacts with the force of a 38 kiloton bomb. That is 3 times the yield of the city buster dropped on Hiroshima back on Earth. That means Sir Isaac Newton is the deadliest son of a bitch in space. Now, Serviceman Burnside, what is Newton's first law? Sir, an object in motion stays in motion. It stays in motion, sir. No credit for partial credits, maggot. Sir, unless acted on by an outside force. Damn straight. I dare you to assume you ignorant jackasses know that space is empty. Once you fire a husk of metal, it keeps going until it hits something. That can be a ship or the planet behind that ship. That might go off into deep space and hit somebody else in 10,000 years. If you pull on this trigger, you're ruining someone's day somewhere and sometime. That is why you check your damn targets. That is why you wait for the computer to give you a damn firing solution. That is why, Serviceman Chung, we do not eyeball it. This is a weapon of mass destruction. You are not a cowboy shooting from the hip. Sir, yes, sir. That's
Love
the
it.
whole thing.
But what if I want to?
And I hate that I remember that from like 7-8 years ago.
I
bro.
love that I remember
That's
that.
crazy.
All right, guys. Well, that's gonna conclude the stream for tonight. We've talked about all the different things that aren't coming in 4.0, which we were all hoping for in 4.0. At least half of them for me. The other half can quietly go to the garbage can and stay there.
Yes.
But so yeah, we will be doing this again, like I say on every stream at the end, every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. And so if you catch this now or you catch this later, just know that if you missed it, you can see it again live next Wednesday at 9 p.m. So if you stayed and watched through the whole thing, thank you for showing up and showing your support. If you're watching this later, feel free to drop in when we're live and get the praise next time. Until then, thanks for watching. See you guys next week.
Take care,
Make
y'all.
sure you comment, like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts on our 25 list of items below.
And that too.
And remember, Stompy pisses in cups.
And with that, we're
Yeah.
closing. Goodbye, guys.
Log in through the launcher, select a PU. Excited for adventure, got the whole verse to view. But as I sit and wait, that loading wheel spins. Round and round it goes, never lets me begin. Time's ticking away, my patience wears thin. I start to curse the code, whispering, Christ let me in, Christ Roberts let me in. I've waited all damn day, that loading screen's been spinning, won't let me play. I close the client down, start it all over again, just to watch that wheel spin. It'll stop, just don't know when. I try it again, but it's the same old fight. Kick back to the menu, this doesn't seem right. Servers are laughing, yeah, they mock my plea. It feels like a battle between Star Citizen and me. Getting impatient now, just watching it spin. More curses flow, damn it, Christ Roberts just let me in. Christ Roberts let me in. I've waited all damn day, that loading screen's been spinning, won't let me play. I close the client down, start it all over again, just to watch that wheel spin. It'll stop, just don't know when. It ain't personal, but it sure feels that way. When hours slip on by and I still can't play. CIG, you promised the stars and beyond, but tonight I'm just a player you've wronged. Another load attempt, another kickback to start. Feels like the game's tearing my patience apart. I'm cursing the devs, yeah, I'm cursing the skies. All I want is to fly, but I'm sitting feeling my anger rise. Round and round, here I go again, praying to the verse, Christ Roberts, let me in. Christ Roberts, let me in. I've waited all damn day, that loading screen's been spinning, won't let me play. I close the client down, start it all over again, just to watch that wheel spin. It'll stop, just don't know when. Maybe next time, or maybe never. And this slow loop feels like it's forever, but I'll try again, shooting for a win, shouting to the void, Christ Roberts let me in.